I'm very proud because before I started this job right here, I was homeless. I used to sleep under the bridge, and most of the streets that I'm cleaning up now, that's the streets that I used to sleep on. I'm thankful that they gave me opportunity. You know, it's changed my life tremendously. Like I said, I was homeless. You know, now I'm in the process of looking for a house to buy. And through this program, you know, I came up with my addiction. Man, I'm so thankful. You know, I thank the staff at Good Source for giving me the opportunity, man. They helped me out tremendously. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the Good Source staff and the city of Orlando. The most rewarding part of this job is getting up every day and trying to keep Orlando beautiful. You know, doing my part and making sure the community and the residents are happy with their areas are getting cleaned up, the streets are getting cleaned up.
Good afternoon and welcome to the December 7th, 2020 meeting of the Orlando City Council, our last meeting of the year, last meeting of 2020. So we'll look to a better 2021. We're going to begin today with the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Sheehan. Commissioner Sheehan.
Thank you, Mayor. It's, as everyone knows, this has been a challenging
Mr. Sheehan, you're
year.
muted.
Oh, I'm not here, Mayor. Do they have me muted on the in the control room?
You're good. You're good now.
You hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, thanks. As everyone knows, this has been quite the challenging year, and I miss you all. I'm working from home today, as I have been, just because I'm not comfortable with coronavirus cases increasing as they have been, and I encourage everyone to continue to be safe and take this virus very seriously. And you know, this situation has provided us all a chance to kind of reflect and think about what's really important to us. And I wanted to share a poem today that's really, really important to me and really informs my belief system. So I hope y'all will listen to this lovely poem. It's called Desiderata. Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even to the dull and the ignorant. They too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexations to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain or bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself, especially do not feign affection. Neither be cynical about love, for in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is as perennial as the grass. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune, but do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be, and whatever your labors and aspirations, in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace within your soul. With all of its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful, strive to be happy. By Max Ehrmann, 1927. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll and make a determination of a quorum, please? Here.
Commissioner Gray,
Here.
Commissioner Ortiz,
Here.
Commissioner Stewart,
Here.
Commissioner Sheehan,
Here.
Commissioner Hill,
Here.
Commissioner Burns,
Here.
Mayor Dyer.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum with all members present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We will take up the minutes from the agenda review and city council meetings of November the 9th.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ortiz, second by Commissioner Stewart. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. We'll go into the mayor's update. As we approach the end of 2020 now, we've been at this pandemic for 10 months, and it means that we've had to make a lot of adjustments as a community and residents, and we continue to make those changes at City Hall to help control the spread of the virus. We're sitting in different chairs with plexiglass between us and masks on. So one of the things that's a positive change, however, is that City Council public comment is now being offered both virtually and in person to further our safety and proper social distancing. Belated happy birthday to Commissioner Stewart. His birthday was the Friday after Thanksgiving, so happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Commissioner Stewart.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Man, that was a lot of great harmony.
Okay, we're not a choir. I promise you we're not a choir.
No.
That's terrible. Appreciate it, but terrible.
Okay, also Commissioner Stewart was awarded the Heart of Florida United Way's Legacy Honoree for the 2020 Change Maker Impact Awards. Congratulations, Commissioner. Okay, and we have had the Thanksgiving holiday, and we're well into the holiday season for a lot of festive lights out. I encourage you to visit Lake Eola and see the great lights that are out there and the very musical Christmas tree. And then Lou Gardens has a great program. Probably, I'm guessing Commissioner Stewart's going to talk a little bit more about that, so I'll save that time and let him do that. But I hope everybody will have a great holiday season and be safe. The other thing that I would like to mention is that COVID is still with us. So while there's some political discussion about wearing masks, the science is that the one thing you as an individual can do to help stop the spread of the virus is to wear a mask. So we need to keep doing all the things that we have been doing for the last 8 months now. I know we're COVID weary, but a vaccine is on its way, not soon enough, but we need to keep doing what we've been doing. So I would also encourage you during the holiday season to think about shopping small and visiting some of our small businesses, those small businesses that adhere to keeping you safe while you're there. Today marks the 79th anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor, and I would like to take just a moment to remember and honor the heroes that lost their lives on that tragic day. So if you'll join me in just a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, just a few items on the agenda. B22, we had a fairly robust discussion on the alternative mental health response pilot, so I won't get back into that. Item 1 under the mayor's section is contributing some additional funds to United Arts so that we can fund some of the arts groups that will be using the Front Yard Festival across the street at the Dr. Phillips Center. It's a $70,000 in grant funding to assist our local arts groups in using this new great outdoor space. Housing number 4, rental assistance program for residents impacted by COVID. Go to cityoforlando.gov to complete the screening process for that. I would mention we also have the small business rental assistance program for the CRA. And then there's a number of mayor's matching grants that are on the agenda today. So congratulations to all the organizations that are receiving mayor's matching grants. With that, we will go to the consent agenda, and the consent agenda is a number of items acted upon through a single vote of council. We give our commissioners the opportunity to comment on items on the consent agenda and update you on important happenings from their districts. We rotate the order that we do that, and today Commissioner Sheehan is first up. Commissioner Sheehan.
Thank you, Mayor Dyer. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you just fine.
Okay, thanks. And I know I flubbed the pledge a little bit, but I was getting a lot of feedback. I do know the Pledge of Allegiance, but I was just kidding. I was getting a lot of feedback on my end over here. I was having a hard time keeping up with everybody. So thanks for bearing with me virtually here. First of all, Lake Eola is really beautiful for the holidays, and I really need to thank Thomas Chapman and the TDP for that. You know, we've struggled with paying for holiday decorations, then the recession came, then people were decorating it, helping us out, and then the Lake Eola Park staff. But I have to tell you, since Thomas Chapman and his crew have really professionalized that, we deserve to have nice things, especially in our signature park. And since we have the Christmas tree, we have the lighting, it really makes a huge difference. And this age, with COVID happening and people can only do things outdoor, I think it's more important than ever. So I want to shout out to Thomas and his staff and the staff at Lake Eola for making that a beautiful, enchanted wonderland for everyone to enjoy. So Thomas, hats off to you. It's lovely. And I really appreciate the support from the CRA and the DDB to make this a beautiful place where people can gather. Not on the agenda today, but something that I have a huge concern on is the OUC EIRP Energy Integrated Resource Plan. Full disclosure, I am a solar generator who participated in the city and county solar installation program last year. And I made a significant investment because I believe in sustainable energy. And it's going to take me about 15 years to realize back my investment, but I thought it was important to do for the planet. Unfortunately, OUC is looking at a plan to not allow people to use net metering for the solar power that they generate. Now, I'm generating 110% of my power on my roof. OUC's plan to do away with net metering will kill solar viability for people like us. We will pay thousands of dollars for solar panels that only OUC can benefit from. This is like a gnat, killing a gnat with a sledgehammer. Less than 3% of the OUC customers have solar panels, yet OUC comes up with this fiasco as part of their EIRP. They are rushing this through because the Public Service Commission last week refused to do so and refused to end net metering after 16,000 Florida residents like me wrote letters in support of net metering. And just to explain to you what net metering is all during the day when my solar panels are generating electricity, they're rocking like crazy, okay? So I'm generating all day long, and then at night, I get credit for the power that I've generated that I can then use, and anything extra OUC can then take and use to sell to other customers. Why this is a problem, I have no idea. I spoke with OUC directly about this and was told I could be grandfathered in, but that is not the point. Big business has killed sustainability efforts from energy efficient vehicles to solar panel manufacturing to now trying to kill rooftop solar. This is bad for our environment, and a lot is at stake. And the irony here is that the climate change has intensified the storms, which wiped out OU infrastructure. They received FEMA money to fix the power lines, and now they're trying to use the power lines as an excuse to disincentivize solar customers, saying that we're not paying for the power lines. My comment to OUC was, then you need to figure out a customer charge, fair customer charge to maintain your grid infrastructure, but don't disincentivize solar. It's unfair. I actually serve on the East Central Florida Regional Planning Council, and I have done so ever since I've been elected. It's basically an extra city council meeting for me. But you know what? I think it's important to work regionally. We voted as a group to support net metering regionally, and yet our own utility is working to disincentivize solar. This is terrible. It's a municipal-owned utility. Now, granted, they've got their own board and everything like that, but I don't think it's fair for them to be working against energy efficiency. When my mom was a young girl, she tells me a story. She had a Renault Dauphine, and the car got almost 50 miles to the gallon in the late 1950s. Yet the car companies and the oil companies built energy inefficient vehicles, which help destroy our environment. We've gone the opposite direction. Instead of going towards solar, we've been burning fossil fuel. We've been burning coal. We've been doing things that are not good for our environment. So now we're finally in a situation where we're in a climate crisis, and we need to be doing sustainable things for our environment, and our own local utility is working against that. I'm distressed by this, and even if they grandfather me in, I don't care, because it's going to disincentivize future people. You know what? I am very fortunate that my house is paid off and I was able to do this. as something that I really want to do for the environment. But I feel very strongly as a person who respects the environment. I don't have children, but I've got nephews, I've got family members. I want to make this world a better place for them. And I think it's terrible that OUC is doing this and even proposing this. And I really hope that they rethink their energy integrated resource plan. And if anything comes before this council, I will certainly vote against it. And I'm deeply distressed by this terrible public policy that's wrong-minded, and they cannot possibly call themselves the sustainable one when they're doing things like that. On the agenda today, I support the co-responder model, as I've said, and I do think we need to tweak it a little bit and have the other commissioners have a level of comfort with it. On item C9 today, I'm delighted to see that we are extending the temporary use trailers and banners for the COVID-19 vaccine at Oxford AstraZeneca, which is happening right here in our city. I'm very proud of Dr. DeJesus, who is my friend, and glad that we're assisting him however we can in his very, very important research. I'm very concerned on item H4 about allowing a New Year's Eve party in downtown Orlando, even if it is on Wall Street, even if they say they have a COVID plan. We had a terrible situation happen at Halloween. We have got more cases of COVID-19 happening per day since this epidemic started, which is why I'm working from home today. I think allowing any parties in downtown Orlando is irresponsible, and I am voting no on item H4, just on the New Year's Eve party. And other than that, I'm delighted to see item I4, Evan Noble as a sustainability project coordinator for multifamily and commercial recycling. And all the rest of it is going to be coming up on ordinances, but I just strongly wanted to talk about my concerns about OUC, and I thank you all for this opportunity to speak. And thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hill.
Thank you, Mayor Dyer. Well, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. As we've been stating all today, even when you first started, Mayor, that COVID-19 is still among us. Continue as we go into the holidays, where we will be with close family members, I hope, in small gatherings, that we continue to mask up and practice social distancing and hand washing and sanitizing. We're almost close. We're almost there. Many of us and our family members have suffered tremendously in 2020 with COVID-related issues. Some of our family members did not make it, but nevertheless, I think we're going to get through it. We're closer to a vaccine. So I'm very hopeful when we start talking about many of the issues that this council and Mayor, through your leadership, that we have made sure to close that gap when it comes to what we see on the agenda today with assistance to our small businesses within our downtown corridor and citizens throughout Orlando, the city of Orlando, when it comes to rental assistance. Glad to see that there's still more help on the way. I believe April is going to be a tough year for us when it comes to evictions and homeless families and working class families really needing more assistance. But also, Mayor and Council, I appreciate your support here a few councils back when we partnered with Orange County administration there and put some CARES dollars into play for retraining for those impacted by COVID. Our goal was 40, and that was 2.5 months ago, Mayor Dyer, and we have reached our goal, and we're at 48 residents that are now enrolled or graduated, and they will be completed by December the 31st. So thank you. That is 48 families, and we still have people that are coming in daily, Mayor, and we are referring them over to our standardized blueprint program. So it was really a big help for these families to not just get jobs again, but have careers. Talking about careers, I would like to recognize the memory of our beloved Jones High graduate and your FAMU alum, Mr. Ronald Rogers, which is a longtime District 5 resident. He was one of the founders of the 100 Black Men at the historic Jones High School, which they focused on making sure that they assisted youth there at Jones High go on to higher education and giving them assistance. Between 2003 and our own Reginald McGill is also a 100 Black Men. They have provided well over $1 million in scholarships. I particularly will miss Ron when I was still a novice, in a sense, considered when you got Patty Sheehan and Mary Dyer sitting on the dais. I'm 8 years in, almost, but I'm still learning. But and I didn't mean that in an offensive way. I'm sorry if it came across. I appreciate your leadership. You've been a big mentor for me. But still learning my way. And I remember going to Ron, and people didn't know me well and doubted me. And I was a little taken back. And Commissioner Burns was hurt by my community, my Black community, not really accepting me well by a narrative that was written about Regina Hill. And he reminded me, counsel, and I think this is what we do here in the city of Orlando. He said, it is better, because I wanted to say some things, and he said it's better to create friends than enemies, and find something that you can find in common with that person that might disagree with you or you disagree with. And when you do that, that's when you can transform your district, the city, and the community. And that held close to me, and I think through this council and Mayor Dyer's leadership and staff, District 5 has really grown through the 8 years when we talk about partnerships, collaborative partnerships. And I want to thank him for that advice. And most Sundays I would go down to Ole's, where most of the Black men of Orlando in politics or business would sit at the round table, and Ron would hold court, and I'll be the only gal there. And I learned a lot about Paramore that I didn't even know, and Washington Shores. It was just a gamut of things we would talk about and laugh about. And I'm gonna miss that, and just wanna send my condolences to his family and friends and Jones High Tigers. On Tuesday, November 17th, I, along with Mayor Dyer, attended the groundbreaking at the ceremony of Fairlawn Village, and it is there in the District 5 Mercy Drive corridor. And we have been particularly focused with everything else going on is on that corridor. Here about a year ago, we did a vision plan with the community to see what were some of their needs and assess their needs there. And it was what everybody wants, a safe community, a place to call home, places where their children can thrive through education and many of the other things other people want, regardless of their income. And this council and Mayor Dyer have been strategic with making sure we fill that gap of creating these type of neighborhoods, but what is affordable for all. So as you know, about 2 years ago, last Christmas this time, Mayor, we was cutting the ribbon and going into ability housing, where those that were families that was homeless and homeless veterans will have a place to call home for Christmas. We're leading up to this Christmas. We have just broken ground on 2 new projects there in the Mercer Drive corridor that will be focused on those that income is less than 60% of the average medium income, where they will have a safe and affordable place to come home to. On November 19th, I attended the food distribution at Camping World Stadium along with Magic Johnson and Simply Health and newly elected House Representative Tavares McCurdy, and provided about 600 Thanksgiving meals to those in that West Lakes corridor. And then we went on over to Orlando City Soccer with the partnership of Publix, Fairwinds, and many community partners, more so Orlando City Soccer, where we were able to provide another 850 Thanksgiving meals to the residents of District 5. From there, we went on to the Mercer Drive corner with the assistance of Orlando Magic and the Aaron Gordon Foundation, which is one of their premier players, and provided over 1,200 Thanksgiving meals for all the citizens here in Orlando and the Pine Hills corner. So I just want to thank those partners for all that they do. That's well over 3,000 almost families within the city of Orlando during the pandemic that had Thanksgiving meals. It might sound simple to some, but it meant the world to these community stakeholders. And I'll be remiss if I did not mention through all those partnerships, and we went on over to Timberleaf and helped another 100 residents there in the Carver Shores area. But on each one of those legs, as you would say, if you were passing the baton, Chief Rolon, your men were right there. Your men and women were right there, and our new community patrolmen were right there assisting me get to know the residents and doing the heavy lifting. And not only that, they passed out the meals. And I believe that was also the beginning of the introduction of these community police officers serving them during tight times. And I really appreciate the men and women there in the District 5 corner that helped us out. And that was methodical also. That wasn't just the vast of people. Those were the men and women on our new patrol community officers that's targeted for those areas that was serving each one of those areas. And they did it with glee. They did not do it as if it was a chore, because I took a stand back and I looked, and you could see the warmth and care and that they were happy to be there. So I think you picked a fine group of officers that's going to patrol those communities, not just patrol, but build relationships. And that was their major focus that day. So just the future updates, and I know Commissioner Stewart will talk more about this, but thank you, Commissioner Stewart and Mayor Dyer, for allowing me to be with you all for the groundbreaking there in the Package District. And I know Commissioner Stewart will talk about that, but I appreciate your invite, sir, and look forward to working with you on that. On December the 12th, at 10 a.m. at the Northwest Community Center, I have again partnered with the Angel Tree Network, and what they are is a group of Christians that target 75 families of children who have incarcerated parents or a parent. So we'll be working with them along with R.L. Burns Construction and Second Harvest to provide meals, bikes, and toys there at the Northwest Center. On Saturday, December the 19th at 10 a.m., my office along with the Orlando Police Department have come together to present the first annual Christmas on Mercy. I'm so happy about that. And what we'll be doing is going next to one of our troubled complexes that you've heard about multiple times this year throughout the news, Mayor, of where we have youth issues there that we're addressing with our Northwest Zone and our My Brother's Keeper. But one thing we have not been able to do is really go into that complex, in all honesty. Even OPD has to go in with backup. And we started it out, we kicked it off here a few weeks ago. OPD had a community day there where they started to get to know the people at the new Jernigan's Garden, where there's actively a $17 million renovation project going on. But it was also the old Palms Apartments, and we understand some of the issues that we had there. So this is another avenue where we're going to bridge that gap of community policing with community partners and of course city government to let them know that they have not been forgotten on Mercy Drive, and that a change is coming. Not just about a decrease in crime and pregnancy and all the things that you saw through Mayor Dyer's PKZ program, but through our Northwest Kid Zone, and also a specific program that is being led by the Orlando Police Department when it comes to community officers, which we call 21st century policing, where their prime focus is to build relationships and trust in that community. So we'll be having a big wing ding over there. I apologize, this mess is just, I might do the Tony Ortiz and take it off for a minute. No, I won't. Love you, Tony. Just kidding. You know it would be a council if I didn't stick you once or twice. It's love. And so that's what we're having. I'm going to let Commissioner Burns talk about another giveaway we're having in Paramore that he has helped lead and have asked me to partner with him and some other partners that he has been working with. I'm just excited for that. And on December 17th, I have partnered with the Athletic Connections Foundation and the Citrus Club here in downtown, and OrlandoJobs.com, in the City of Orlando Parks and Rec, and also OPD. And that one's gonna be a fundraiser, and it's primarily geared towards the Christmas outreach for the Mercy Drive corridor. And on December the 9th, and this will be it, as you know, the City of Orlando have their Blueprint 2.0 job training program. And now we have taken it a step further to where we're now helping those get fiber optic skills and certifications. And it is with the partnership of UCF, and you can go to my Facebook to find the link for that evening. And it will be virtual, and it will be an informational outreach. If you want more information about that, contact Jacqueline Carcahan at 407-246-2005. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. We'll move to Commissioner Burns.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to just echo what my colleague Commissioner Hill mentioned about Mr. Ron Rogers. Over the weekend, we celebrated his life. Mr. Rogers was a mentor to many, a mentor of mine, a true champion for educational attainment, but really an ambassador for the city of Orlando. And so wherever he went, he talked about Orlando and knew the history of, I believe, every community in Orlando. So he will truly be missed. And I'd just like to let his family, his friends know that we continue to keep them in our prayers. Also on Friday, also I'd like to recognize Jones High School football team, the Mighty Tigers. Over the weekend, this past Friday, we played in the Class 5A Region 3 championship. While we fell short of winning that game, we had a great year, and I'd just like to congratulate the Tigers on the first undefeated season in 100 years. So go Tigers. We're proud of all of your accomplishments. Also on Friday, November the 13th, and Saturday, December the 14th, we had a Green Up Orlando came to District 6 to work at Gilbert McQueen Park and Bill Frederick Park at Turkey Lake. I was able to attend the Green Up at Bill Frederick Park and witness the good work that Jody and her team does for our city. We have another Green Up we're working on for next year, and I can't wait to partner again to keep District 6 looking beautiful as the city beautiful in general. Also on Thursday, November the 19th, I celebrated the Florida Classic by virtually honoring luminaries from my beloved alma mater, Florida A&M, as well as Bethune-Cookman University. This year the Classic was canceled due to COVID-19, but I was able to host a small socially distanced event to keep the energy and spirit of the Classic alive. I was happy to be joined by my colleague Commissioner Hill to celebrate an event that brings so much joy to the fans and the alumni of both schools, but also has a true economic impact to our city. So next year, I'm looking forward to celebrating the Classic and attending Commissioner Hill's annual leadership event, which is always a good party. On Saturday, November 21st, my office partnered with Second Harvest Food Bank for a turkey drop-in giveaway for our district. And also, I'd like to thank as Commissioner Hill mentioned, the officers for the community policing program. They came out and served, and I, as Commissioner Hill mentioned, stepped back and witnessed them serving, and it was very sincere. So it made me feel good, and so I'm continue to be excited about this community policing approach that we have. I'd like to thank our volunteers like My Brother's Keepers, the Smith Center, city staff, Omega Psi Phi Delta Sigma Theta for coming out. Together we were able to feed 500 families, gave away about 1,000 turkeys. So again, you know, a lot of people in our communities are still hurting, and so I was fortunate to come together with so many volunteers to serve our community. Also, I'd like to thank the Orlando Police Department for canvassing Washington Shores, and giving, Orlando Fire Department for canvassing Washington Shores this past weekend and giving away fire safety equipment. I thought I saw Chief Barksdale. So thank you, Chief, for that. I'm grateful for the work that our first responders continue to do in our communities to keep our residents safe. As far as agenda items, I'd like to express my support for agenda item B22, the Alternative Mental Health Response Pilot Project. As we've relied on our police department to respond to so many issues, I believe this pilot has the potential to move us closer to having the appropriate responses to our community needs. Unfortunately, our local jail system is the largest provider of mental health services in our community, but the problem is they're a correctional facility and not designed to truly provide the level of mental health services that are needed. So we do not need to criminalize mental illness, but ensure that our community members get the services that they need. I'm also glad to see that Aspire Health Partners is a partner in this pilot, as they have provided much needed mental health and substance abuse services to our community for many years. Also, I'd like to voice my support for item F4, which is an amendment between the city and the United Way for the administration of our rental assistance program. I'm glad that we've been able to not only extend the program, but increase the amount of resources available for our residents struggling with the cost of rent during COVID-19. And hopefully this program will ease the burden that many families in our city are experiencing. Also on this Saturday, Commissioner Hill and I are partnering with the Soul Fest, Osborne, Francis, Scratch Kitchen 534 for a holiday, and Ford for a holiday toy giveaway. Also, Care Plus is a partner in this event, so we're excited to be able to, again, during these tough times, afford our community members the opportunity to get some toys and other things that they would need for Christmas. And in closing, I'd just like to encourage everyone to continue to mask up, stay socially distanced, but also I'll encourage everyone to consider taking a flu shot. While the flu and the coronavirus are two different viruses, it's a study that shows that if you get a flu shot, subsequently get the coronavirus, you have better health outcomes. So again, encourage everyone to keep your Christmas gatherings small so we can all stay safe, because it's going to take all of us to combat this pandemic. So Mayor, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns. Commissioner Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to devote at least 3 of my minutes to Commissioner Sheehan's earrings. Could we get a shot of those again?
She is definitely in the
Where is
holiday
she?
spirit.
Compliments, Commissioner Sheehan. Those are very festive.
Thank you, Commissioner Gray. I just want to say they were made by a local artist. I bought these local. They're by Sod.
Perfect. Well, I was thinking about getting my ears pierced, so I don't know, maybe next year I can wear those. A couple of things, usually I refer you guys to my website, but there's a couple of things that were real special we've done the last couple of weeks. I want to give some folks some thanks. But before I do that, I want to mention a passing of a guy that I think sometimes gets overlooked, and that's Jimmy Hewitt, who's passed. And some of you know him a lot better than I did, but when I moved to this town 30 years ago, the Magic were just getting started. And those who have come since maybe take the Magic for granted. But believe me, when I came 30 years ago, the arrival of the Magic put us on the map. It really was the toughest ticket in town to get. I know they're on some tough times right now, but they'll be back. But he did a lot for this town just by his efforts there. And again, some of you know him better than I do. But R.I.P. Jimmy Hewitt. He was a big help to this city. On November 13th, we did a Veterans Day celebration at Lake Nona. And among other things, I learned from Tim Cook, who's the director, a factoid that I didn't know, but at our VA Medical Center out at Lake Nona, they treat 120,000 vets annually, and that's pretty amazing. So congrats to those folks out there, but it was a really great event for Veterans Day. On the 24th, we did a turkey giveaway for the residents of Citrus Square. I want to thank my staff for organizing that, but especially our sponsors, which was Orlando Health, the Lee Wesley Corp, and Walmart for helping us put that together so we could provide Thanksgiving dinner for the residents at Citrus Square. On December 3rd, other great news for the Lake Nona area, Verizon, in conjunction with the Tavistock Company, rolled out the Verizon 5G incubator, which is, we've been talking about pilot programs this morning. This is the same type of concept. They want to use the technology and the speed of 5G to do some field experiments out there, not just in communication, but in the world of simulation for the medical school where they're doing simulated medical practice, the students. So another exciting event for Lake Nona, and congrats to them. December 4th, Friday, we did our holiday shopping, our annual holiday shopping, compliments of the Nobilo Foundation. And again, that's an event where they give kids a $100 gift card and they get to select whatever they want without their parents or big brothers or big sisters telling them what they can and can't have. So that's always a fun event, and thanks to the Nobilos for doing that. On December 5th, Saturday night, we did the holiday parade in Lake Nona. They're party people out there, but OPD was great to provide a little bit of escort, but it was great to drive through the neighborhood and see folks in their front yard trying their best to enjoy the holiday. On the agenda, B11, which is the Orange Center project, I'm going to vote no. I've been through this before. There's no sense discussing it again. I just don't believe we have the strongest sponsor there, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope they prove me wrong. B22 is the pilot program. We talked about it. You know, I came in this morning saying, no, I didn't like it. I'm going to yield to the advice of others, including Commissioner Burns and OPD. I'm very hesitant, but in the spirit of trying to give this thing all the support and energy I can, I'll go along with that. And I just hope that we check in frequently. It doesn't hurt to check in, even if everything's going smooth. Quick check-in never hurts. The one I do want to talk about is B30. I mentioned it in agenda review, and again, this has nothing to do with the capabilities of the consultant. I am sure they're fine, but the notion of doing an 8-year contract on 3 different projects, and this is the 6th Amendment, I believe. It just doesn't feel good to me, and the fact that we don't have an MWBE component to it certainly doesn't feel good. So, you know, when we look at our code, we talk about the contract bidding of inclusion, transparency, financial stewardship for our taxpayers. The notion of somebody having a perpetual contract for 8 years flies in the face of that, and I don't understand why we're doing it, so I am going to vote on B30, vote no on B30. Last thing is F7, Affordable Housing Task Force. The mayor and his staff nominated me to kind of run that, and I'm glad to do it. There's a report in there on F7. We spent the last 3 months really educating the committee. Our staff did. The Orange team educated us a bunch, and since we had to get this report in by Florida statute by the end of the year, there's not a ton of changes to it, but the committee is committed beginning January when we meet again to bring in folks from the outside. That would include shareholders, developers, folks involved to check our policy. It may be perfect. If not, we'll come back and recommend some updates. So that's all I have. And then at the end, I just wish everybody a safe and happy holiday. Thanks, Mayor.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. This mask, they really mess with our noses, don't they? Anyhow, today I'm going to take a point of privilege to start, and I'm going to talk about the Florida League of Cities, since this year I have the honor of presiding it. The Florida League of Cities mission is to promote local self-governance and to serve the needs of Florida municipal governments. Advocacy and public education are key components of the League's mission. And more than half of the Floridians in this state live in municipalities. So the Constitution clearly declares that cities shall have the power to conduct municipal government. And home rules gives each city the flexibility to craft its laws specifically to its own unique needs. Sadly enough, 160 legislators, and I shouldn't say 160, most of them, because we do have exceptions, seem to feel or believe that they can centralize the government. And let me go back in history, not meaning that I was there, but after the 1790 census, 1791, a population of approximately 300,000 people around the different states decided that they did not want a centralized government. They wanted a decentralized government. A central government to keep everybody together, working together, but not a centralized government. In other words, not all the decisions were going to be made from that central location. Today, we have 300,000 people in some of our cities, Orlando, for example, but even smaller cities have their unique way of doing business. How come at the state level we don't recognize that we can govern ourselves in such ways? So, to make the story short, we have a particular initiative this year. It's called Building Stronger Cities, Organizing, Empowering, and Delivering. And I know that I'm speaking to the choir when I'm talking to our mayor and our commissioners here, but we need each and every one of you to take as a task to teach our constituents about the fact that we have a decentralized government and that we need every constituent, every resident's support to get our legislations, those who benefit the municipalities, to pass. For those who are representing us, and thank God we have good representative on this region in Tallahassee, but that's not the case for all around the state. So we need to start letting them know that there's only 160 of them. We have approximately 2,270 legislators, municipal legislators or municipal officials, and approximately, 27 million, up to 27, I think, is million people in the state. But even so, if we come together, if we learn more about governance, and we learn more about what the needs of our communities are, if we are more in touch with our local officials, if we are more involved in the matters of government, we can solve a lot of the issues that we have at hand, and we can also influence those votes in Tallahassee. Once those guys in Tallahassee see the masses really getting involved, I'm telling you, the power and the influence of government is going to come back to the municipalities. We will no longer have to deal with preemptions at such degree. We will no longer have to work with unfunded mandates that we have to deal with at local municipal levels. But for that, we need to each and every one of us, to get involved. And this year, as I said before, we have this initiative, and we have a website. It's called buildingstrongercities.com with the Florida League of Cities, where you can find all kinds of speeches, all kinds of videos to help you to talk to your constituency and tell them how to get involved with government. and how important it is, explaining to them the need for municipal residents to get involved. So those legislators in Tallahassee that so many times we elect because they look pretty or sound pretty, but we don't really know enough about them to elect them, and we don't do the homework either to really check to see if these guys are going to represent us, they need to stop following the guidance or the leadership of those others in Tallahassee. They were elected to follow the leadership of the residents who elected them. The power of government should lie on the shoulders of residents, not representatives. We represent. We don't dictate. We represent. So as Joel Osteen often says, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. Let's listen more, let's speak less. And let's go ahead and get people more involved. So this is a call to action because we need each and every one of us and anybody who would listen. And if we can go to chambers of commerce, Kiwanis clubs, anyone, universities or whatnot, and talk to them about how local government works. And as Thomas Jefferson would say, the government closest to the people serves the people's best. We are the government closest to the people. And we're the ones listening and dealing with each and every issue of our communities. Those guys in Tallahassee, hundreds of miles away, they don't know what's going on here on a daily basis. We do. So they should be listening to us, checking with us constantly, and checking with our constituencies. All right, with that preamble there, I'm going to talk slightly, or actually, I'm going to go ahead and read what the legislative priorities are going to be this year, because this is pretty interesting. Let's start with affordable housing. Florida League of Cities calls on the Florida legislature to support legislation that requires all monies from the Sadowski Fund, Sadowski State and Local Housing Trust Fund, to be used only for affordable housing programs. Every year this fund gets ransacked for other issues. And that's why we have so many, it was one of the reasons why we have so many issues locally in terms of affordable housing, because that money gets taken away. And our great staff, which have to do miracles all the time, have to deal with the CDBGs and all the other opportunities that they can finagle out there and can work with. So we need to make sure that our constituency is aware of this and call Tallahassee and make sure that those legislators stop messing around with the Sadowski Fund. In addition, we need to make it constitutional. Municipal cybersecurity, the Florida League of Cities calls on the Florida legislature to provide the resources necessary to keep cyber criminals from compromising data on citizens and businesses that is collected by cities. Private property rights, the Bert Harris Act. Florida League of Cities opposes changes to the Bert J. Harris Jr. Private Property Rights Protection Act that do not consider everyone's property rights or that creates one-sided lawsuits that shift inordinate finance burdens onto local taxpayers and limit the ability of cities to quickly resolve claims. Short-term rentals. The FLC, Florida League of Cities, supports legislation providing for a collaboration between the Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation and cities to ensure that short-term rentals properties abide by state and local regulations and be properly licensed and insured. The Florida League of Cities supports legislation clarifying that existing grandfather municipal short-term rentals ordinances can be amended if the changes being made are equal to or less restrictive than the current regulations in place. In terms of transportation funding, the FLC supports legislation that would provide local governments with new and innovative revenue options and resources to finance critical infrastructure, maintenance, and construction needs to meet the ever-changing transportation demands driven by dramatic population growth and new technology throughout Florida. And water resources. Water is an essential public asset that benefits Florida economy, residents, visitors, and environment. Presently, Florida spends less than 0.1% of its entire state budget on water supply and water quality improvement. Let me say that again, 0.1%. The Florida League of Cities supports legislation to address Florida water quality crisis and water supply deficiency. Commissioner Stewart will be talking to you about the sales tax fairness, since he was a chairman of the Finance, Taxation, and Personnel Committee, so that's all yours. Moving along to our agenda, as Commissioner Graves said, in terms of Aspire, I definitely support this effort. I think anything that would contribute to our community's health in every aspect is something that we ought to try. And I applaud the efforts of the whole team, Kathy, Captain, Chief, everybody who's involved, Mayor, for approving this, for us to move forward in our communities to help those in need of mental health assistance or situations that deserve this kind of engagement. Having said that, and I know the Chief said that they're going to be looking into what we propose, and I'm glad, and I appreciate it, Chief, because we definitely need to make sure that those who are going to be working on that field are saved. And who better to provide that safety than the Orlando Police Department? Anyhow, so moving along. F4, Rent Assistance Program. God bless America, and God bless all of us, and God bless our community. What a great program. I'm so excited that United Way is working with us on this. There's a lot of people in great needs out there. When I heard from Oren Henry, the particulars, I was able to speak to some of our radio stations in Spanish. People are very excited because there's a lot of needs out there. So thank you so much, Mayor, staff, and United Way, and the whole government, for that matter, that's coming from the federal government. So moving along, on Monday, November 23rd, my office and I travel around District 2 to distribute 120 turkeys to seniors and families in our community. I want to thank Lee Wesley Companies for donating them every year, making it possible to give back to our residents during the holidays. A lot of nice smiley face, especially in our seniors. So that was great. On Friday, December the 18th, we'll host a social distance, big social distance, outdoors District 2 movie night at Park of the Americas. Movie time will begin at 7 p.m. featuring the Santa Claus. Come join us to get into the holiday spirit. I want to congratulate our Government Academy students. They'll be graduating next week. They went through 10 weeks of government, and especially living the days we're living and understanding the need for them to get involved with government. They were very appreciative, and they thanked the City of Orlando and our staff for getting involved and helping us out with that. Now I want to move to something Commissioner Sheehan talked about this, and I do have a great concern because I think OUC is not only the reliable one, but is the sustainable one. And I'm a little surprised that we have not gotten a full, total presentation about the particulars on this Energy Integrated Resource Plan. And a little bit that I've been able to research sounds to me like I know that there's good intentions, but we're falling short of what was previously, in a way, was, I guess, talked about. They talk about a 1% savings. Now in the plan it shows a 0.5. Rooftop solar, we have the National Renewable Energy Laboratory found that OUC can rely on up to 370 megawatts. I guess in the next 30 years, we are going as slow as 65.5. I don't know why not, meet them halfway or something like that. But so I'm not complaining. I would like to have a presentation about this because I know that we are a different board and they have an independent board. Mayor, you're part of that. But having said this, we are the ones who, as I said before, we're the ones who deal with the public on a daily basis. We're the ones that people come to us and ask us how come OUC is doing this or doing that. And I've always, and I will continue defending OUC because I think is a great institution. We have much to show. They're Johnny in a spot. But this is of a concern to me because, of course, of the future. And I would like to see at least a presentation. I actually would love to. We have our own expert on the subject matter, Mr. Castro. And I don't know if you present it to OUC, but I would love for OUC to come here and explain to us more about why the decisions in terms of why such a conservative approach in terms of rooftop solar, and why did we change from 1% savings to 0.5 when right now we're saving up to like 0.7% is my understanding. So I would love to see a presentation before, and I know there's a vote on this tomorrow. If there's a way that they could postpone this vote, it would be awesome. So we can have a more of a, I don't know if a say or whatnot, but maybe a better understanding so we can address this issue. And let me see, Mayor, with that, I just want to wish everyone a very happy, well, first of all, hope that everybody had a great Thanksgiving, but I hope everybody have a happy and very safe Christmas. God bless everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, and Commissioner Stewart, you can bring us home.
Thank you. So my birthday boy goes not last, I guess, today. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. And every time you wish me happy birthday, you remind me I'm the oldest person on this council since Sam Ings left. So thank you very much for that, Mayor. Also honored about the recognition from Florida United Way. It's very humbling. Those are they honored the 25 years of service I had at the Christian Service Center, and I appreciate that a great deal. With one meeting in December, we go through a lot of things that we don't typically go through, and so it's taken a little longer. I do want to congratulate Jones on an undefeated season and recognize that Edgewater is still in the playoffs. Just wanted you to know.
But we won.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you beat us, but we're a better team now.
Orlando
Jones.
United, we'll be rooting for you.
Congratulations, Jones, and congratulations, Edgewater, as they move go up to Niceville this weekend to play a fraternity brother of my son's, who's coaching that team. A couple of things I'd like to share. Commissioner Gray, thank you for mentioning Jimmy Hewitt. I appreciate that. We need to recognize two very important people to Orlando who passed away very recently. Ron Rogers and Jimmy Hewitt. Both have been wonderful ambassadors for the city of Orlando. Both come at the love of the city from different perspectives. And it reminds us of how diverse our community is, and we can still love our community and move forward. I met Ron, probably know him longer than most everybody here, because we were involved. He was at Jones, I was at Edgewater at the same time. And but I always looked at Ron because he had just a great deal of wisdom and loved spending time with him. He worked for a short time for my father. We were co-workers at the time. And then, of course, Bubba Hewitt is just a wonderful, wonderful person. So God rest their souls. They are wonderful examples for each of us to follow. And so, can I share a couple of things briefly? We had the Packing District groundbreaking for the Packing District Park and the tennis center. Commissioner Hill, thank you for being there, and Commissioner Dyer, thank you for your leadership. Lisa Early, thank you, and of course, thank you goes to Ken Robinson from the Packing District, that Dr. Phillips that helped us accomplish that task. Looking forward to this. We're going to be opening that up in, I guess, 9 to 10 months. So looking forward to I don't think I could actually hit the first serve, but I think I may be close to it. But I have to practice that, Mayor. So you and I'll have a volley. We did the golf, and I did not do very well.
Well, you'll do better at tennis than me.
Well, I hope so. And you made fun of me for a long time about that. I want to say thanks to Princeton Elementary, getting the opportunity to go and do virtual teaching over there last month. And Mayor, thank you for doing a quick cameo. It was very well appreciated. Look, Commissioner Ortiz is exactly correct about the role of government, especially on a local basis. And I want to say how much I appreciate his leadership and the work that you're doing with the Florida League of Cities. And he has taken an opportunity to appoint me to the chair of the Finance, Tax, and Personnel Committee, and I had a chance to work there and work with our own Chris McCullion to do that. But I appreciate so much your work with the Building Stronger Cities movement. Our initiatives really center around fairness in terms of our tax policy, in terms of sales tax policy, and fairness in terms of internet access throughout the state. Those are two very key things I think that we have found important, of course, in the last 8 or 9 months. But there's a lot of loopholes of people who can still buy product outside the state of Florida and not pay state sales tax. And so we've kind of created a thing called the Small Business Protection Act, with the idea that we're just going to close that loophole and encourage people to shop locally, because that's an important thing that we can do here. And in addition to that, internet access. We have seen that throughout the state, and it's just very, very poor, especially in the rural areas and in the lower socioeconomic areas. So those are areas that we think it's fair. And we've now finally got the attention of the governor, who has said that it's important. And so we now know how important it is. So we want to make sure that moves forward. Those are our two initiatives from finance, tax, and personnel. I want to say a special thank you to those who are working this week on the Homeless Memorial Service. It will be over on December 17th at 10:30 a.m. at the Orlando History Center, Orange County History Center over in downtown Orlando. So please get a chance to come out. It's a chance for us to recognize those in our homeless community who have passed in the past year and recognize them. So thank you for doing that. A couple of quick things. I went to my first Front Yard Festival last night. It was great. The weather was gorgeous and did start raining until about 11. Apparently the rain went over College Park, but not downtown. I don't know how you pulled that off, Mayor, but you did a great job with that. And so I got home, and it rained at home, but not downtown. It was a great time, and it was very well done. We listened to the Rollins College group last night, and it was just really neat. But I think they've done a wonderful job. And I can't tell you how many people came by and told me thank you for the work and the commitment our city has made. So thank you for that, Mayor. Dazzling lights are over at Lou Gardens. If you hadn't had a chance to look there, just go to cityorlando.gov and just put in the word dazzling, and you'll find it and get a chance to go over there. It's going on until January 3rd. So you can stop by Lake Eola and have a great time there, and then you can take one evening and go out to the Lou Gardens. It's just wonderful, and I appreciate Colin Smith and the work that he's done for that. The other quick things, I know we got a lot, only at one meeting in December. I want to make sure I cover them all. I want to say thank you to our neighborhood associations. They continue to engage people in our community in these weird times. A special thanks to College Park Neighborhood Association. They'll have another Zoom meeting tonight, get a chance to engage. And what's been neat about, if there is anything neat about what's going on, is that more people are now engaged because they can be involved as in a live environment, but also now these are all recorded and they're shared among the community. So more people are seeing about what's going on. I want to say thanks also to our main streets, especially in my district. They have really worked hard to keep business going. College Park has a thing called Season of Sparkle. It's designed to take the place of the individual one-night event. We're doing 4 events, socially distanced, every Saturday afternoon during the course of December. Ivanhoe Village this weekend's having the 12 Wines of Christmas, a socially distanced walk around Ivanhoe Village. And the Audubon Garden District is doing a lot of great stuff. And tonight actually is their Monday market. Again, a chance to be out there and share. On action today, I do share a lot of the same concerns about the Energy Integrated Resource Plan. I think that we ought to do all we possibly can to encourage alternatives, whatever that may be. And so I appreciate the comments from Commissioner Sheen and Commissioner Ortiz about that. On the agenda, Mayor's matching grants are always important. Mayor, thank you for continuing to keep that up. It really is a way to, mobilize, but get our communities to be engaged together and get to know one another. So I appreciate that. The Rental Assistance Program, thank you so much for that. That was wonderful. Sherry is not around, but the work that y'all have done, thank you for that. That's a big deal, and I'm so grateful for that. And then on B22, you'll hear some of these same comments in a few minutes. My concern would be with the issues really are when we start a pilot program, do we set up a matrix before and do we measure against that matrix and do we make those matrix changes as we see we need to make changes? And so we're so new into this and the country is so new into doing this. I want to make sure that we are looking at those things by what we can expect. And then from there say, we've got changes, let's make those changes happen. And we can do that on the fly with a small group to accomplish that task. And that's my concern. I understand all the other issues, and they are very, very important, and I'm going to let former police officers share those comments. But I think that we need to say, what do we expect to happen? Did it happen? Evaluate quickly and move forward. And I don't expect this Diaz to evaluate that. I just expect to know that it's being done and being done fairly. That's the main thing. So that's really my concern. I'm going to support it because I think it's the right thing to do. And I think, frankly, in time, with a good program, it can become even stronger. And I think it will be beneficial when it does. So I think that's all I've got. Mayor, thank you very much for letting me go on a little bit longer than normal. So with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Stewart, second by Commissioner Burns. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. If there's no objection, we'll recess the city council meeting and convene the CRA meeting. Thomas, you out there? The first two items are meeting minutes. So number one is the October 5th CRA meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Stewart. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. The second is the October 19th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Stewart. All in favor indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, Thomas, at number 3.
All right, thank you, and good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Item number 3 before you today is approving a downtown commercial and residential building improvement program funding agreement between the CRA and Golden Fonseca Investments, LLC, doing business as House Steakhouse at 123 West Church Street. You recall that this program offers a 3-year interest-free deferred loan for qualified improvements to both the exterior facades and also certain stabilization aspects. Properties.
Mayor, Thomas, can you pick up that microphone and put it closer to your,
Is that right?
all the mask on? It's kind of a little hard to hear.
Is that better?
That's
Yeah,
much better.
Okay, all right, thank you. I was saying that the program, you recall, offers a 3-year deferred interest, I'm sorry, a 3-year deferred loan, which is interest-free, for qualified improvements to the facades of buildings and also to various stabilization components of buildings within the downtown CRA area. This particular application is at 123 West Church Street. Golden Fonseca Investments, LLC, does have a lease there now, and it's for various improvements to the building. You recall that the program allows for 50% matching funds up to a not to exceed of $100,000. This particular applicant has qualified improvements estimated at a cost of just under $57,000, which means they would qualify for $28,479 in CRA funding. The grant committee convened on November 13th and has recommended approval. And if there are no questions about it, staff requests approval of the downtown commercial and residential building improvement program funding agreement between the CRA and Golden Fonseca Investments, LLC, for 123 West Church Street, subject to review and approval of the city attorney's office, and authorizing the chair and the executive director to execute such funding agreement.
So moved.
I do want
I wanted to make that.
Can I first, Commissioner? I know you love blue too, but it is in district. Go ahead, Commissioner. I'll let seniority go first. Go ahead.
You got to give me this one.
I'll give it to you. I'll go ahead and give it to you, Commissioner.
You got to give me this one, Commissioner.
You got it. You got it, sister. Go ahead.
Man, it's nice when a project's so good that they're arguing about who gets to make the motion. Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. Discussion, hearing none, all in favor of the
I think
motion.
Commissioner Sheehan wanted to make a comment.
You have a comment, Commissioner Sheehan?
All I have to say is that I never really thought that we would see this, Church Street, I never thought we'd see the Parliament House potentially relocating to Church Street. We've got Hamburger Mary's, now House on Church. I think these are going to be not just wonderful entertainment opportunities for the gay community, LGBTQ community, but I just think this is going to be a powerhouse. Commissioner Hill, you're welcome, because my best folk are coming your way.
Hey, we're all one city, and that's why I'm just so excited. It's not just about the LGBTQ community, but I know downtown has been wanting some fine dining and all those type of things when we start back getting to normal. But of course, I do love the LGBTQ community. And one thing we do know is y'all got money and you'll spend it. So I'm excited about this I guess I could say just this jolt of activity back into that corridor, which is a long time coming with
And if
all
I
these
can,
partners.
one more thing, Mayor, we are fortunate to have Blue Star. I mean, I can't believe she stayed here. She does world-class entertainment. We are so fortunate to have Blue and her group, here in Orlando. Unfortunately, I can't walk to it from my house anymore, but I will be, as soon as it's safe, I'll be going to House and Church, and I am so excited about this new opportunity, not only for her, but for Orlando, and I think this is an amazing investment for us.
Yeah, and they've done a nice job on the interior renovation as well. If you were in the old space, you wouldn't know it going back in there. Further discussion, hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, Thomas, Small Business Rental Assistance Program.
Thank you all on that. Item number 4 is approving small business rental assistance program and funding agreement. To recall that back on October the 5th, the CRA created the Small Business Rental Assistance Program to establish rental assistance for retail and consumer services businesses within the CRA area by providing funding of up to $5,000 per month for up to 6 months, for a total of up to $30,000 for qualifying businesses under certain conditions. The program was established with an allocation of $1.5 million, and the application period expired on Friday, December 4th, 2020. You recall also that we have an agreement with the Orlando Economic Partnership, or OEP, to administer this program. And so OEP has completed its review of a portion of the applications that have been submitted during the application window, and recommends approval of 15 applications before you today with a combined funding of $343,821. In order to continue to assist businesses, and since the program funding still remains robust, staff is also recommending, extending the application period, which again sunsetted on December 4th, extending that another 30 days to January 4th, 2021, and amending the eligibility requirement that applicants must have operated a business within the CRA for a period of at least 1 year prior to March 17, 2020, to requiring that applicants simply have operated a business within the CRA as of October the 5th, which is the inception, the creation, if you will, of the program. Staff is requesting, and just FYI for mayor and commissioners, there have been 99 applications received during the current window for a total of, if they were all funded, it would have been $618,193.43. 28 of those have been denied. 56 are still being processed, and of course there are 15 before you today being considered for approval. If there are no questions, staff is requesting approval of funding agreements in substantially the form attached hereto between the CRA and the businesses listed in the attached exhibit, and authorizing the chairman and the executive director of the CRA to execute the funding agreements with such businesses, and approval of the following amendments to the Small Business Rental Assistance Program. 1, extend the application deadline to January 4th, 2021, and 2, amend the eligibility requirement to require applicants to have operated a business within the CRA as of October 5th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Further business, Thomas?
Just 2 pronouncements, Mayor. One, I've been preempted. I want to join the chorus and to say welcome to those of House on Church. To have House added to Church Street is a major addition. As has already been stated, it is absolutely stellar, first-class live entertainment, the likes of which we have not had in downtown Orlando within this vicinity at this level. In addition to that, they have an outstanding food repertoire. The food service is high quality, high caliber, and very creative beverages. And then finally, I'd like to, I'm sure you all recognize and heard, but I'd like to say a welcome, or congratulations, I should say, to a very prominent CRA stakeholder for a very long time, my good friend Jay Henry. He was appointed, as you know, by the governor to serve on the State Board of Barbers, which will be regulating the profession that he's been in for so long. So a shout out to Jay Henry, and we appreciate him and very proud of what he's done. That's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Without objection, we will adjourn the CRA meeting and reconvene the City Council meeting. Move to hearings. We have a final assessment resolution. On November 9th, 2020, City Council adopted an initial assessment resolution for the city's imposition of an assessment that will assist in funding charity health care to uninsured and low-income patients. This is the fourth year this assessment, and hospitals subject to the assessment support it. To complete the assessment proceedings and consider the adoption of the final assessment resolution, council is required under the city's home rule special assessment ordinance to hold a public hearing. Notice of the hearing was advertised in the Orlando Sentinel on November 16th, 2020. Madam Clerk, would you read the title of the resolution into the record, please?
A final assessment resolution of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, authorizing, levying, and imposing a non-ad valorem assessment within the areas of the city limit described herein for the purpose of supporting the provision of charity health care by the city's hospitals to indigent members of the Central Florida community, and the viability of those hospitals as important contributors to the city's economy, finding and determining that certain real property especially benefited by the increased support for charity care, making certain other findings in relation thereto, establishing the method of assessing and collecting the assessment against the real property, specifying the maximum annual assessment amount and the maximum assessment lien to be levied against the special benefited real property, confirming the initial assessment, providing for certain other authorizations and delegations of authority in relation thereto, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. Madam Clerk, is there anyone from the public that would like to testify at this hearing?
Yes, we have 4 speakers. Up first is Stella Lewis. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes to speak.
Good afternoon, Mayor and all of the commissioners. It's really great to see you again. I have not been down here in a while, but it's always good to see you. I am coming forward to speak on the agenda item on the final assessment resolution, and I wanted to just speak briefly on that to say that I'm very, very excited about it. It seems like it's something that we're going to be doing for people that are really, really in need. And as I read the information on it, I was very surprised to see that our hospitals in the area have really been doing an outstanding job under the circumstances without having enough compensation to take care of all of the individuals that need care. So I think this is a great idea, and I'm really, really for it, especially for the people in our community. To have this kind of assessment resolution, it's going to be so nice to have people being taken care of. I have one question to ask, and that is, I don't see any cost attached to that of how much it's going to cost to do this. Can someone give me an idea on that?
Cost, there's no cost to the city. It's really a pass-through. We collect the money from the hospital, pass it up to Tallahassee, and they get reimbursed from Tallahassee.
Thank you. I just have a minute or so left, and I'd like to say that I was very disappointed today. I came down at 12:30 to speak at the first meeting that you had and was not able to do so. And I would like to suggest that someone takes out time to notify us in the community of what's going on, because I had no idea that I would have to make an appointment for 9 a.m. in order to speak at the first meeting. I would like to say to Commissioner Ortiz that your idea in terms of having more involvement with the residents, that it's great, but I think you guys need to start here at home by getting the information out to us residents as to what's going on. I don't know when you instituted the new process that you have to sign up the morning of the council meeting, but it certainly didn't come out to us in the community. And I wanted to let all of you know that as far as I'm concerned, I try to be a good citizen and I try to participate, but information is key. You've got to get the information out to us in the community so that we can be good residents and citizens and be participants with what's going on in the community. Because right now, I don't feel very happy as being a senior citizen, being in the risk category, to come downtown to the City Hall to make a presentation on an item that I was objecting to, all to naught. So I just think you guys really need to put some time into the thought process to get the community the information that we need so we can participate. We want to be a part of what's going on down here, but if we're not getting the information, we cannot do so. So I would ask that that be taken into consideration. I thank you so much for the opportunity, and I'd like to at this time wish all of you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you, Stella, and I will point out that we have made accommodations, so you don't have to come down to City Hall. You can appear virtually. Next speaker, Madam Clerk.
Mayor, may I say something before you go?
Commissioner Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that, but I wanted to come in person.
Ms. Lewis, I was going to just suggest, through your commissioner, I'm going to go ahead and get in touch with your commissioner so we can develop a system to get you all involved on what's going on in terms of government. So what I'm going to do it through your commissioner. Okay. That's it.
Madam Clerk.
Up next is Luana Gelzer. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes to speak.
Luana Gelzer, it's an echo. Luana Gelzer, 815 Hill Street. I am going to speak on this item, Agenda 2, and my concern is that when asked the question about it, the assessment area, I was given several addresses, and I was concerned about the assessment areas and how, if there will be any type of cost. Stella asked that question already, but I was more concerned about what would be the return, how much money or projected revenue possibility we could get from this, not against the project, but went back to November when you originally presented it, and we were unable with city staff to find a projection of what we might be able to utilize and allocate towards this program. So it was not enough information for that. Another thing is, since I have some time and I don't want to hop on everybody saying the same thing over and over again, but I was here also to speak on the consent agenda because we were misinformed because of the decree with the governor. But it's okay. I won't be coming back down here. It's not worth my life. But B22, I'm all for that, but I want to take you down memory lane. August 2015, you had your first Peace and Justice meeting at Camping World Stadium. And for those who were not allowed to be at that table, like myself, we had to stage a protest outside. And towards the end, several of us were allowed to enter in and hear the rest of the presentation. One of those individuals was Attorney Natalie Jackson, another one was TJ Legacy Cole, and myself. At that time, when they were asking for recommendations from the community, we read off 10 suggestions that we felt would improve community policing. And one of them was a white paper study, quarterly reporting tracking system, dear to my heart, reviewing the use of force metrics, because I still will go on record and say that you change your use of force metrics from in April 2014, and you need to go back to what everybody else have, not 4 levels, but 6 to 8 levels. But we said mandate body cams and dash cam, but number 8 was mental health response team. So to see us pick up what some of the community was saying 5 years later, kudos, but it wasn't our idea. We just researched what Seattle and other were doing and made me very concerned. But one of the things I'm very concerned about is it's 5 years later, and the day after that presentation, Terry Johnson, the homeless man, was beaten by OPD. And so I'm very concerned. Just want everybody to know we've been bringing a lot of things to your attention. But closing, I will say this, happy holidays, but for the Adolphe family, Kevin Adolphe family, he was shot in the back 3 times by OPD, February 18th. The family did not get to see that video, and it was all 3 videos merged together until November 4th, 2020. And then the next day it was released. Not all 3 separate body cam, but them put together. So happy holidays, but for that family, and if we're talking about transparency, mental health response, we need to also, don't forget, the rules apply to us all equally, and we shouldn't be holding on to body cams for over 9 months. So I say kudos to catching up with whatever we've been saying, but mental health response is something a lot of people have been talking about throughout the country. Thank you, City of Orlando, for getting on board with what some of us have been suggesting for quite some time. Have a blessed day.
Next speaker, Madam Clerk.
Next, we have David Caicedo. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes to speak. There's sanitizing in between, so just give it a moment.
Okay, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is David Caicedo. He, him pronouns, 134 East Colonial Drive, Orlando, Florida, 32801. And I'm the co-executive director of the Florida Student Power Network, a statewide network that works with youth on social justice issues. And I wanted to just say that I'm totally in support of the item of creating the pool for the low-income services for the hospitals in Orlando, and kudos to them, right? They were doing the best that they can, and it's good to see that they'll now be receiving support. And I would like to see that program expanded. And I was also here to talk on the consent item also, and I wanted to just thank you to the City of Orlando. I know Commissioner Burns, you helped to fight for this, Mayor Buddy Dyer, and I think that it's a great start, the program to send mental health professionals rather than police to emergency situations. We already know that the police tend to escalate these situations, and sending 2 teams that'll be working 40 hours a week for the course of a year, I really would like to see benchmarks set and really the possibility to make adjustments to be able to support those mental health professionals. Because seeing the need from 2019 versus the need now of 2020, while we're in a global pandemic, we know that mental health issues and mental health crises are happening at a higher rate. And especially in Black and brown communities, I hope that we're able to make adjustments halfway through the program and really help to expand in order to support our communities. And again, thank you, kudos to you all, because this is one step in the direction of decriminalizing, right, mental health issues and supporting our communities. And I just wanted to state also, right, and remind folks that I was also one of the protesters out in the streets during the summer. And we were really calling for a reimagining of what public safety meant and a reimagining of what policing meant in this city of Orlando. And a couple of other demands, right, that we had was to also be looking into bias trainings. We need to also be holding police that are continuously showing misconduct to really be held accountable in a real way. We were also asking for bias trainings, right, for police officers, more de-escalation trainings for police officers, for new guidelines, right, on the use of lethal force, on traffic stops, demilitarizing police units in minority communities, comprehensive and transparent data collection and reporting, and investigating of all traffic stops, all arrests, and especially all uses of force. We're also asking for a restructuring, right? We know that the citizen review boards don't actually have capacity to, or like the ability to be able to truly hold folks accountable to what they are suggesting, to what the citizen review board is suggesting. So really, how can we give teeth to that program so that they are able to also have oversight over police? We also, right, a new special prosecutor's office, and a ban on all evictions. We know that the moratorium on eviction just continues to be like extended and extended, but a ban on evictions would be helpful too. And in closing, right, again, thank you. This is a very good step in the right direction. I really did hope that this program would be a little bit wider, right, to be able to see the true impact. Because from my understanding, maybe someone can confirm, it seems like it's 4 new individuals, 2 teams of 2. I'd like to just learn a little bit more on how are we going to be supporting those individuals, how are we going to be expanding this program, and what can be done. And it's a step in the right direction once again, and we really thank you for that. And I hope that we can continue to do more as the time goes on.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Next up is Michelle Suarez. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes to speak. Mayor, while they're queuing up the next person, we have raised hands on Zoom. However, they're all indicating that they're trying to speak on the mental health topic, not necessarily this hearing item.
Yeah, I've been pretty charitable in letting people go off subject, but I don't think we need to do that.
Okay.
And
Hello, Council.
I let these guys do this, but I was feeling the Christmas spirit, but we're not going to do it much longer.
May I proceed?
You may proceed.
Hey, Council, community members. My name is Michelle Suarez. I'm a constituent of District 1 at 316 Big Sound Drive, 32827. I'm an organizer, activist, and human rights advocate. Today, I want to talk and flag some things about the proposed provision of charity healthcare. While I know residents benefit from this, and I'm not opposing it, I also want to address this model that the city continues to do, which is a charity model instead of addressing systemic issues to begin with. So maybe we should be asking and solving why residents are unhoused to begin with, and why residents don't have access to health care to begin with, when entire health industries continue to make a profit of illness, and when Orlando continues to side with developers instead of expanding more community housing. So those are my points for that. I also wanted to speak on mental health and police while I have time here. So again,
Okay,
I want to address some things.
I was a little generous in letting people speak on things that aren't the subject of this hearing, so I'm going to preclude that at this point.
Yes, but I've been waiting. I've been waiting the whole day to speak on this, so I think that I should be given that right, because residents didn't know that that meeting was happening at 1 today. So to be clear,
Nope.
this demand and practice.
Would you mute her mic, Madam Clerk? Okay, and you say that anybody else that raised their hand was indicating they wanted to speak on mental health?
Correct.
Okay. Then I will close the public hearing on the final assessment resolution. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right, Madam Clerk, let's move to hearings, ordinances, first read. Number 1.
Ordinance number 2020-66, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, vacating, closing, and abandoning a portion of Lake Avenue between East Jackson Street and East South Street. A portion of the north side of East South Street between Liberty Avenue and South Osceola Avenue comprised of 0.29 acres of land, more or less, providing for conditions of abandonment, providing for the execution of affecting documents, severability, correction, scrivener's error, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Stewart. Madam Clerk, is there any members of the public that want to speak on this ordinance?
No, Mayor.
Discussion among commissioners? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right, number 2, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance number 2020-68, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the city's adopted growth management plan, future land use element to add new sub-area policy S.15.13 to establish the development plan for the property generally located north of East Colonial Drive, west of El Toloma Street, east of Fern Creek Road, and south of Woodward Street, and comprised of approximately 2.1 acres, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Stewart. Madam Clerk, is there anyone from the public who wants to testify on this matter?
No, Mayor.
Discussion among commissioners? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right, hearings, ordinances, second reading. Number 1.
Ordinance number 2020-54, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the city's adopted growth management plan and updating figure CI 14 to be entitled City of Orlando 2020-2025 Capital Improvements Element Capital Improvement Fund Schedule, amending policy 2.2.30 in the capital improvements element, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Stewart. Is there anyone from the public to testify on this?
No, Mayor.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right, second ordinance.
Ordinance number 2020-56, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, relating to the residential replat process, amending Chapter 58, Orlando City Code to establish consistent review criteria and submittal requirements for residential replats, revert to original plat, and modification of standards application, providing for severability, codification, correction of scrivener's error, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Stewart. Anybody wants to testify on this, Madam Clerk?
No, Mayor.
Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 3.
Ordinance number 2020-58, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending Section 62.499 of the Land Development Code to create the SODO Special Plan Area, creating Part 1L, Chapter 65 of the Land Development Code to establish the SODO Town Design Review Committee, amending Chapter 66, Section 66.200 of the Land Development Code to provide definitions relating to the SODO Special Plan Area, establishing a Special Plan Area overlay zoning classification on certain properties generally located south of Lake Lucerne, east of Interstate 4, west of Summerlin Avenue, and north of Lake Jenny Jewel, authorizing amendment of the official zoning map, providing legislative findings, and for applicability, severability, codification, correction of scrivener's error, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. Is there anyone that would like to testify, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mayor. We have Andrew Marshall appearing virtually. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes to speak.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Andrew Marshall, and I reside and own the home at 125 East Copeland Drive, Orlando 32806. First and foremost, thank you for your time and dedication to the community, and hope this finds all healthy, well, and ready to enjoy a wonderful holiday season. I am speaking today in regards to the ordinance 2020-58 relating to the SOTO Special Plan Overlay, replacing the Orange, Michigan Special Plan, and most specifically the delineation of the transect zones to a specific area east of Orange Avenue, north of Fernwood, and south of Annie Street. The updated proposed SOTO Overlay Special Plan removes all mention of protecting existing residential neighborhoods from encroachment, as well as all original objectives of the original special plan, which further protected the residents from the desire to quickly, urgently, and potentially irresponsibly develop the cityscape, which may not only now, but in the future negatively impact the protected and designated historical residential neighborhoods which abut specific areas of this overlay. The mentioned borders, line items 12 to 15, generally speaking to the area being south of Lake Lucerne, east of I-4, north of Lake Jenny Jewel, and west of Summerlin, concern me with regards to the west of Summerlin border. While only a small portion of the east of Orange Avenue to Summerlin are included, this sprawl could lead to further encroachment into some of the more established residential neighborhoods to the north, as this overlay more easily and further expands. The transect zones in general are grouped together with very logical start and stop parcels or lines, with the exception of the plots of land crossing over Orange Avenue on the east side between Fernwood on the south and Annie on the north, across from ORNC. The parcels on the east of Orange Avenue between Michigan on the south and Lake Lucerne on the north are all T4 or below, with the exception of 1221 South Orange Avenue, which is the last known undeveloped plot of land in this area, and two currently constructed buildings at 1315 and 1405 South Orange Avenue, in place for 30 plus years. If we review Figure 1, SOTO transect zones on page 9, you can clearly see how this is illustrated, and these plots of land or currently built buildings are randomly selected to be of this designation, and certainly hope that based on the lack of this plot of land being developed for an extended period of time, has improperly influenced this designation. One of the new SOTO overlay objectives includes language that states gradual transition to less dense residential neighborhoods on the east of Orange Avenue corridor. Additionally, on line item 286 of the same proposed overlay, it describes T5 as intensive. In no way, shape, or form should T5, again also mentioned as intensive, be considered a gradual transition to a residential neighborhood of which the first residential homes property line within the Lake Copeland Historic District is within 20 feet of this said T5 plot of land. Additionally, this very shallow depth plot of land which borders Lake Copeland will not benefit from the lake as a transition, but serve as something to further exacerbate the intensive nature of a building with such T5 designation, size, use, impact, etc., as the smaller size of the lake, being only 14 acres, does not provide any such transition. Additionally, I fear that from line item 1256, which states that applications heard by the TDRC are exempt from review by the Board of Zoning Adjustment, Municipal Planning Board, and Tech Review Committee, these few parcels could be a place where advantages are taken from this new language, which, despite these few parcels of land, is ultimately a positive step forward for the remainder of the 95% of the noted transect zone. I would ask, with all the competing concerning headlines that we live within today, and all that you've heard in the past, here today, or here in the future, that you pause and consider the implications from adopting this ordinance as specifically laid out, and ask that you reconsider the transect zone currently proposed to be adopted for the few plots of land east of Orange Avenue, most specifically the plot of land at 1221 South Orange Avenue. I strongly believe that this plot of land should be designated T4 and would further align with the overall objectives of all current growth management plans, overlays, and ordinances, while still adopting all other elements of the proposed ordinance as laid out. Thank you again for your time, service, and commitment to the City Beautiful, which again, I believe could be negatively impacted by adopting this ordinance as proposed to you today. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Elizabeth, could you come enlighten us perhaps?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Elizabeth Dang with the City Planning Division. We did receive these comments just about an hour before the meeting, and I wanted to point out a couple things. First, the title of the ordinance describes a broader area than what's actually regulated by the ordinance. And that's why the Summerlin border is mentioned, because it's kind of a generalized description. So the actual regulatory boundaries are shown on a map in the ordinance. The property at 1221 South Orange is already in the Orange and Michigan special plan, and it already shows its transect area, so that is not changing. That project is in for MPB review next month. So it would meet the currently adopted standards as well as these new standards for the SODO plan. And one other point, I did want to mention that the plan does still call for protecting existing residential neighborhoods. It's in section B1. It was moved, but it was not crossed out.
Questions for Elizabeth?
Yeah, Mayor, thank you, Elizabeth, Commissioner Sheehan. Sorry, Mayor, I just jumped in because it's hard for me to raise my hand when I'm here virtually, but, and this is my district, but yeah, Elizabeth, whenever I hear from my constituents, especially those in Lake Copeland who care deeply about their neighborhood, I want to make sure that we're addressing all their concerns. So it appears that you have addressed all of those, but can I ask you if you would reach out to Mr. Marshall after this meeting? Because this is the second reading. That's the only concern that I have, just to make sure that we've addressed all of his issues and concerns.
Yes, I'm happy to do that.
Thank you.
All right, you comfortable with this, Commissioner Sheehan?
The only concern I've got is that it is second reading. And ordinarily I'd go for first reading and say, okay, well, let's address all the issues before we have second. That's the only concern I have. Is this so timely that we can't bring it back to the next meeting, just so we can make sure that we have addressed the neighborhoods concerned, Elizabeth?
That's fine. We can defer it till the next meeting.
Yeah.
I think the council would have to open and continue the hearing because it is advertised.
Okay. Would it be okay for us to do that then, Mayor?
Yep. Why don't you make the motion to defer this to the next meeting?
Yeah, I make the motion to defer this, to pull it from the agenda today, to defer it to the next meeting based on some concerns and discussions we've had from the neighborhood. So that would, the January 11th, I think it is.
Is there a second?
A second for me, Mayor.
Motion and a second. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, we'll hear this again on the 11th. Okay, number 4.
Ordinance number 2020-59, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the Orlando Corporate Center Plan Development Zoning District, providing for amended development conditions for parcel 13A, generally located south of Marketplace Drive, east of South Goldenrod Road, and north of Lee Vista Boulevard, providing that prior ordinance is still in effect, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
Move to adopt.
Motion by Commissioner Gray, second by Commissioner Ortiz. Madam Clerk, are there members of the public who'd like to be heard?
No, Mayor.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Number 5.
Ordinance number 2020-60, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, designating certain land generally located east of Narcoossee Road between State Road 528 and Dowden Road, and west of the Randall Park Plan Development, and comprised of 536 acres of land, more or less, as the Torrey Preserve Plan Development District, providing a development plan and special land development regulations of the Plan Development District, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
Move to adopt.
Motion by Commissioner Gray, second by Commissioner Stewart. Is there anyone wishing to testify?
Erica Hughes, who is the applicant, is available to speak if there's any questions.
Any questions for the applicant? Don't think so.
Okay.
All right, then discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Number 6.
Ordinance number 2020-61, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, designating certain land generally located on the south side of Stonewall Jackson Road, east of South Cimarron Boulevard, and west of Pablo Lane Road, and comprised of 1.41 acres of land more or less as the planned development district with the Cimarron Boulevard and Airport Noise overlay districts, providing a development plan and special land development regulations of the planned development district, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
All right, I need a motion. The District 2 Commissioner, I think, is going to be against this, although he made the motion at the last meeting. Motion by Commissioner Sheehan,
Second.
second by Commissioner Hill. Are there members of the public that would like to speak, Madam Clerk?
Becky Wilson is here if there's any questions.
Becky represents the applicant, so are there any questions?
I've got a question for her.
Okay. Ask Ms. Wilson to come to the mic.
Ms. Wilson's at the microphone.
Yeah. Commissioner Stewart here. We talked about some parking spaces, and there's another drawing here as a site plan. Does this site plan that's been proposed include those spaces that we talked about?
Yes, the spaces that were discussed at the very first meeting have been added to the site plan.
To this site plan that we have, correct?
Yes.
Are you confirming that, Becky, or you're good with your answer?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you could hear me say yes.
74, is that correct? I'm just trying to make sure. Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess, Elizabeth, I guess I would ask, I apologize, Mayor. I show 74 on site. Is that correct? Did it go from 69 to 74 plus the 5 on the street? Okay, so we have 74 spaces now on property and 5 on the street for visitor. Okay. All right, thank you. All right, thank you.
Okay. Further questions for Becky? Commissioner Ortiz?
Becky, I propose, we had a conversation, I propose that he could possibly eliminate 7 of the 1-bedroom apartments, increasing the amount of the 2-bedroom apartments from 12 to 17, which would definitely benefit our community, because families are looking for affordable housing. That would also increase the amount of parking spaces by 7 parking spaces. Right now, the initial plan offers 72 parking spaces, 77 inside and 5 public. Now with the increase that took place after, I guess, went to 79 to where 74 are inside the property, 5 are still public. So it's 2 more than the 72 apartments that are proposed. But if he was to adopt going to 17 apartment, 2-bedroom apartments, and dropping to a total of apartments dropping from 72 to 65, would allow for 7 extra parking spaces for a total of 14 spaces total. 9 would be inside and 5 public, which would definitely, I think it would definitely do justice to that community there, because it's going to be very tight, and I don't think the changes are that dramatical. And it would also help tremendously the amount of families that we have looking for affordable housing instead of just a single person.
Commissioner, yes, you did ask me if that was possible, and just for the knowledge of the rest of the commissioners who maybe haven't followed this quite as closely as you have, we are requesting 72 units. Of those, 60 are one-bedroom units and 12 are two-bedroom units. As we shared previously, there is a
You froze,
households,
Becky.
and we were not able to be able to rearrange
Becky?
our
Becky?
yes.
You froze for
Yes.
30 seconds or so. So I don't know where you stopped off.
I think you were talking about
I'll try it again.
I think you had just described how many apartments there were, one bedroom and two bedroom, and then you froze, so we didn't hear you after that.
Okay, we took a look at this area and we believe that there's a significant need in this part of the district for one-bedroom households. I mean, those can include a single person or a couple. And let me also be clear that by changing the suggested change of the mix of units does not create additional parking. I think Commissioner Ortiz's point is that when you apply your code, it would require fewer parking spaces. So we aren't in any instance actually picking up more parking. So what we'd like to request for approval continues to be 72 units. And as stated, we have 74 parking spaces on site along with 5 which are in the right-of-way. In addition, and when you look further at the site plan, there is additional parking spaces for motorcycles and other types of uses. Happy to answer any other questions.
I have to respectfully disagree on that, on the fact that there's greater need of a single room apartment. There's a great need of families, and I just walked the district during the Thanksgiving holidays, and I was asking for families that are trying to move, and of course there's no enough places in the city, and that's why some people are moving out to other areas by all means. But we definitely need more apartments with more bedrooms, so that would be a great help to the community. And in addition, would also would alleviate the issue and the tension that has been built by the parking space issue. So I would love for him to.
The report that we had to do in order to get our financing shows a 62.9% market area of the renters having one or two persons, which was one of the reasons we weighted this more towards the one bedroom. And candidly, affordable housing is really difficult to finance and to provide, and this is the mix that we've been able to confidently have approved and ready to add to the affordable housing stock for the city. I agree with you, Commissioner Ortiz. There probably are a lot of families that could use affordable housing, and we support the city's efforts to continue to look for ways to do that, but I don't think that throwing this project out completely when we're offering to provide it for 72 households is the way you solve it. So I'd appreciate consideration on this second reading today.
I'm not throwing it out. I'm saying that we need more. As a matter of fact, one of the issues we're having is multiple families living in single family homes. That's a big issue in our district, and we're trying to alleviate that, providing housing for more people. So I'm just basically looking for quality, and there's 7 apartments, and by all means, I'm the first one to admit there's a huge issue all around the nation with affordable housing. We've been fighting on that for the past 12 years, and we're looking for funding and whatnot. But you're not aware of, you're definitely not familiarized with this particular area. I don't think anybody around here is as familiarized as I am. And we're going to see. I'm going to go ahead and go along with this, but we will definitely see the results of this. And when that happens, let's hope to God that we have a way of solving those issues. All right.
Thank you, Commissioner Ortiz, for your leadership. I think what you're going to see is once you build that, it's going to be full to capacity before you break the ribbon, and you'll see the great need. But I really appreciate your compassion and your leadership going into these holidays, sincerely. Thank you, Commissioner.
And Commissioner, citywide, there's a real undersupply of one-bedroom units. Not that this would be permanent supportive housing, but when we were looking for permanent supportive housing, we found that you just couldn't find one-bedroom apartments. Okay, further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 7.
Ordinance number 2020-62, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, extending the 2-year time frame in Section 65.477 relating to the 180-day waiting period for demolitions within the Lake Davis Greenwood area, providing a 6-month extension of the 2-year time frame, providing legislative findings, and for non-codification, correction of Scrivener's error, severability, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Stewart. Members of the public, Madam Clerk?
No, Mayor.
Discussion, hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Number 8.
Ordinance number 2020-63, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the Orlando Lutheran Towers Plan Development Zoning Ordinance to amend the density, increase the maximum impervious surface ratio, and to remove approximately 0.22 acres of land, 410 and 416 Mariposa Street, from the Plan Development Zoning District, such land being generally located on the south side of Mariposa Street between South Osceola Avenue and Lake Avenue, providing a conforming legal description, providing for severability, permit disclaimer, correction of Scrivener's error, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. Anybody from the public, Madam Clerk?
Becky Wilson is also here if there's any questions.
Any questions for the applicant's attorney?
No, Mayor.
All right, then discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, let's move to ordinances on first read, number 1.
There's one more, Mayor.
That's right.
Number 9.
Okay. Read the last ordinance.
Ordinance number 2020-64, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, rezoning certain land generally located on the south side of Mariposa Street between South Osceola Avenue and Lake Avenue and comprised of 0.69 acres of land more or less in planned development with the traditional city overlay district, in part in high-intensity mixed residential office with the traditional city overlay district, in part to plan development with the traditional city overlay district, providing a development plan and special land development regulations of the planned development district, providing for severability, correction of Scrivener's error, permanent disclaimer, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. Public testimony, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mayor, we have Darren Elkide representing Star Tower. He's appearing virtually. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes to speak.
Good afternoon. My name is Darren Elkind. Because I'm doing my address professionally is 142 East New York Avenue in DeLand. Can you hear me okay, Madam Clerk?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I was at your last meeting on this subject, and I'll be brief. At the planning board meeting, the members, who, by the way, had a very full and very engaged discussion about why they were voting to approve, or in one case, not approve, almost every one of the members explained their reasoning, and that was because, and it was clearly because, this was a senior affordable housing project. The city, in fact, has given them, as I understand it, the maximum density bonus for a mixed-use project, with senior affordable housing being the primary use. Now, while I have explained to you previously why the city could not lawfully approve this project, and that issue, frankly, remains for another day, and I explained to you last time why the city should not approve this project, because it was really, if you will, a breach of the deal that the city made with the neighborhood when it approved the 420 building across the street. In fairness, if you could actually deliver senior affordable housing in a high-rise building in downtown Orlando area, hallelujah. I mean, that's just a win for everybody, and that's a wonderful thing. And we understand why everybody on the planning board, and although I haven't heard much discussion or any discussion from the council, understand why anybody would want to do that. We get it. The developer says they intend to deliver 109 certified senior affordable housing units with 29 unrestricted, if you will, market rate units in this building. What I ask of you is this. If the developer comes back and says the numbers don't work out and they need to reduce the number of senior affordable housing units, certified units, will you allow them to do it? It's a rhetorical question, I understand, but will you ask yourselves, will you allow them to do it? Our team has evaluated the numbers, and we are extremely concerned that senior affordable housing units cannot be delivered in a high-rise structure. These types of developments are generally done in low-rise, 3- and 4-story, up to 5-story units, not high-rise structures, which, as you know, are much more expensive per square foot. I'm not suggesting that anybody is engaged intentionally in the proverbial bait and switch, but we are concerned that the developer is going to come back to you and say, we need to significantly, now that it's all approved, it's there, we need to reduce the number of senior affordable housing units. If that is not something that they plan to do, then it should be no issue for them to agree to a provision in the PD that provides that the density bonus goes away, and that the project cannot be built if they want to, if they cannot deliver the full number of senior affordable housing units, and go on the record and make that clear today. If that's the reason this is being approved, and it's a laudable goal, I'm with you, it's a laudable goal. But if that's the reason that y'all are doing this, say so, please, and let the developer know that you're not going to agree to change it, and make them sign off on that in the development agreement. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Further testimony?
Becky Wilson is also here for any questions.
Questions of Becky? Do you have a statement, Becky, or just questions?
I'm happy to answer any questions that you all may have when you look at the master plan and the staff's analysis. Our second use in order to get the bonus are the restricted affordable housing units. So that's already built into the entitlements, Mayor.
Okay, discussion?
Mayor.
Commissioner Stewart.
Mayor, I've gotten several people have called me, and I want to make sure they're on the same page. So I think I can ask this question to Elizabeth, if you don't mind. Is there any commitment that we have, any evidence of any commitment that we've had that the city engaged in withholding any zoning for those people in the building next door? Because the question I keep hearing is, you promised, you promised, you promised, and that clearly ought to be something that ought to be involved in the evidence, and I don't see anywhere that the evidence actually produces that.
That's correct. It is not unusual for buildings in this MXD2 zoning district to ask for a full bonus. This is just the first one that's providing it with affordable housing. Other projects have chosen other alternatives to meet the bonus standards.
But my point is, the next door neighbors are saying, the city agreed to provide approvals of the 420, I guess, is what the location, on the condition they would not build anything taller here. Is there any evidence of that we've made any concession of any way?
No, the Orlando Lutheran Towers PD did show a small part of this area as open space, but the PD text did talk about if anything were to be constructed, a PD amendment could be requested. So there was no permanent easement or a requirement for permanent open space on that location.
So some of the stuff that people have contacted me about is not supported by evidence, I guess I'm trying to argue. correct?
That's correct, and we went through that extensively with the hearing officer.
That's what I thought. I mean, I thought you mentioned that because I reviewed that again today, and I couldn't find any information that supported some of those claims.
Mayor, if I may, to answer Commissioner Stewart's question as
Sure,
well.
sure, Commissioner.
Yeah, part of the issue here, Commissioner, was that we did have we did have the need for green space and things like that in downtown, and that's why there was written in some of these PDs, but that was prior to dedicating Constitution Green as an entire block of park. So I think that, while we needed that through the level of service, by dedicating an entire block right there, we now have the green space that we needed. And the idea is, what else do we need now that we've made that? And I really appreciate, I want to thank you all again for making that commitment to buy that entire city block. That then allows us to now look at other uses, and I think affordable housing for seniors is laudable. And for anyone to say that that senior high-rises don't work, they're clearly not familiar with Orlando Luther Towers, Baptist Terrace, the Cloisters, or Canara, which I all represent as well. So I think it's, of course there's need for senior high-rise housing, and I think this is a great way to do it. Thank you for the question, Commissioner Stewart.
Further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So the motion carries. Okay, this time we're done with second readings, and we'll move to ordinances on first reading, number 1.
Ordinance number 2020-65, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, relating to motorized scooters, amending Chapter 10, Orlando City Code entitled Bicycles, Scooters, Micromobility Devices, and Bicycle Paths,
So moved.
to extend the pilot program for scooter sharing services and to authorize sit-down scooters to use the sidewalks under certain conditions, providing legislative findings, definitions, penalties for severability, codification, correction of scrivener's error, and an effective date.
So moved now.
Motion by Commissioner Ortiz.
Second. Oh, go ahead, you can have it, Gray.
Second by Commissioner Gray. Okay, I asked Tanya to give us a presentation. We had a lot of discussion surrounding the scooters, so I thought it would be helpful if a little bit of information is shared.
All right, good afternoon. We have put together a brief presentation.
Tanya, get right up against that mic.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. Let me get the presentation.
Beginning. From beginning. Left, 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 left. Down. From beginning.
Huh?
From beginning.
Oh, sorry. Good afternoon, commissioners. We put together.
Technology.
Yeah, I know. We put together. Thank you, sir.
Wow.
And happy belated birthday. So after listening to your questions and hearing your concerns, the Transportation Department did put together a brief presentation. My name's Tanya Wilder. I'm the Transportation Policy Advisor in the Transportation Department. And so the agenda is outlined in 4 parts. First, the program data. The second, we'll be going through the improvements to the program since it began in January. And then we will touch on the results of a survey that was conducted and proposed ordinance changes. So first of all, the program data, by the numbers, so far we have 6 companies: Lime, Spin, Lynx, City, Bird, Wheels, and Razor. There are 1,700 scooters citywide. As of December 2nd, there's been a total of 470,000 trips at an average of almost 1,500 per day. We have 33 micromobility parking locations, and what that means is that that's areas where the scooters can be parked. Initially, it started at 17, and now it's actually increased to 33 locations, which is good because we're trying to find ways to manage this program. On an average, we have about 54 requests per month to relocate the scooters, and we've also collected about $95,000 per ride fees, which goes back into helping have oversight of the program and also bike ped infrastructure. And also to note, what we know of is about 15 ER hospital admissions, and that's just information that we've gleaned from the hospitals. This is a dashboard of number of trips per month. And so again, it just gives you a snapshot from January to November, as well as average utilization of scooters used per day, per month. And where we got this information is a software program that we have. It's called Populous. So that's where we get our data from. The busiest routes, as you can see reflected in this map, from January 22nd to November 30th, it's all within the downtown area, and the boundaries are north of Virginia Drive, east Summerlin Avenue, south Anderson Street, and west Paramore Avenue. So this map actually reflects how scooters are an eco-friendly, affordable solution to the urban transportation trips, covering a distance of less than 3 miles. This is just a heat map showing where trips are ending and basically where users are parking their scooters. And again, it reflects in the urban core. Some modifications that we've made since, again, the pilot began, we increased the parking locations, as mentioned, from 17 to 33. We created an online form that allows quick and easy reporting to both us and the scooter vendors. We started testing scooter racks at 2 locations, one in Thornton Park, one at Publix, and one at the 7-Eleven. We started installing 2-wheel parking locations for motorcycles, scooters, and bikes within the Central Business District. And then also to note, we've increased the number of geofence zones from 35 to 65, and this is again a reflection of listening to what the needs are. And by what we mean by geofencing is you cannot bring your scooters into those areas. And so from increasing it, we've added parks, parking garages, golf courses, entertainment venues, and as well as hospital campuses. We've also worked closely with event management, Orlando Venues, Orlando City Soccer, to create a scooter parking location for pre and post events, as you can see reflected in this picture, just October 28th at the Exploria Stadium prior to our Orlando City match. And we've also worked with Lake Eola, with our parks folks and Lake Eola Park, and enforcing no parking, no riding zone for scooters. We updated the parking signage and increased signage adjacent to the park because, again, that's geo-fenced. And we test periodically the geo-fencing with our vendors throughout the time of this pilot. Another great thing that we've done is we've worked with Orange on geofencing the Orange Avenue area along with OPD in coordination with OPD. So we have no parking, no riding surrounding Orange Avenue from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. on Thursday through Saturday nights. Again, as you can see, it's the north side is between Robinson Street and Jefferson Street. The east side is between Magnolia Avenue and Roslyn Avenue. The south side is between Church Street and Pine Street, and the west side is between Garland Avenue and the railroad tracks. Another thing that we require is that each vendor holds 6 safety classes throughout the year. Because of COVID, we have allowed for it to be virtual versus in person. And the scooter vendors have the choice of providing online safety training videos, informational materials, or alternative option once they run that through us. And these safety requirements must be met by December 31st. So we did a survey. It was a 2-month span of 624 responses, and it was those that ride the scooters. That's where we got our data from. Most users are younger, 49%, between 18 to 34 years of age. 81% would continue to use the program if continued beyond a pilot, and 75% felt safe actually using them. So before you, we have some ordinance changes. And it's to extend the pilot program to July 31st. As we all know, this year it's been a difficult year because of COVID. We did suspend the program. We've had some social unrest. So we really want to create more time to collect more data. Currently, the program ends actually in January 2nd of next year. We've also modified the ordinance to require daily rebalancing of the scooters versus the currently required rebalancing of every 3 days. The picture that was at the beginning of the presentation, that looks all nice, and I know that's how we want the scooters to look, but we do understand that sometimes scooters are put in sidewalks where we don't want them to be. We also will require sit-down scooters to be capped at 10 miles per hour when used on the sidewalk. Those companies are Wheels and Razor. Currently, sit-down scooters are prohibited on the sidewalk, but again, this ordinance allows for them to potentially be capped on the sidewalks. The other thing just want to bring up in closing is that we need to think about what to consider when we're developing these policies. This is an ongoing project of balancing inclusivity for the vendors with equity and safety for the whole city. And so this regulation process is ongoing. And the first step is understanding what the tweaks and changes that must be needed to be made continuously as the scooter industry develops. And we also need to look at sister cities. However, we need to mold it to fit our city. It's not just a one size fits all. And so if this proposed ordinance passes, what we plan to do is come back to you, and we've heard in the other pilot program that was previously discussed, come back to you in the next 60 to 90 days, talk about our data, talk about our metrics, and again, talk about ways to move forward to have a stronger, successful, safe program, hopefully a permanent program in the future. And with that, I welcome any questions or comments.
Tanya, on the sit-down scooters, how would the scooter have the ability to go 20 if it's in the street, but be capped at 10 if it's on the sidewalk?
That's an excellent question. So now there's been, they called it a governor, and it's kind of like a GPS system, but it's a device. And so it's Wheels and or Razor have the responsibility to put this device onto their scooter to make sure it does not go beyond 10 miles per hour on the sidewalk. And just like the geofencing, they stop. You cannot go within those geofenced areas.
So their GPS will pick up whether it's 1 foot on the sidewalk versus 1 foot into the street?
The device is called a governor device, but yes, sir.
Okay.
Wait,
Questions?
I apologize, just a quick question. A governor is different than the controlling it by GPS.
Right.
So the GPS controls the governor, or are they just are set at 10 miles an hour?
No, it's called a governor that
Right.
goes on these scooters to go on the sidewalk to control it not to go beyond 10 miles per hour. For the sit-down scooters, so this device, it's not a GPS, but it's just it's a separate technological device. Will go on these scooters, these sit-down scooters on the sidewalk, and they cannot go beyond 10 miles per hour, which is the same for all the other scooters on the sidewalks. They
So a
cannot-
scooter at 10 miles an hour with a seat can be allowed by state law on a sidewalk?
And this is what the ordinance changes as well, yes.
Okay.
Mayor, I know I can't click in, but whenever you get a chance, after everybody else has been recognized, would you mind recognizing me?
Just go ahead, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you. I have, even though I usually like cool stuff, and I like the idea of stopping that last mile of transportation concerns. My experience in my district of these scooters, the experience of the people who live in my neighborhoods has not been positive. I've got a lot of senior citizens living in my district. I've got people with different abilities that live in my district, and these things are littering all over the sidewalks. They're blocking the handicap ramps. And I think it's kind of interesting that these scooter companies can figure out how to put governors on them so they can tell if they're on a sidewalk or in the street, but yet they can't figure out how to pick the darn things up when they're all over my neighborhoods, all over our neighborhoods. Wednesday last week, the scooter companies, after hearing my comments at the council meeting, started asking me for a meeting. Now, they've had all this time to interact with me and ask me what my concerns are, and they wait until Wednesday of last week. I mean, if they really want to know what the concerns are of a city commissioner, they should arrange to have a meeting with me so I can talk to them, but not the last minute, not the Wednesday. One waited till Wednesday, one waited till Thursday before the city council meeting. They want to meet with me on Friday. No, I mean, I'm not going to bend myself into a pretzel trying to accommodate them when they know what my concerns are, and they could have gotten on my calendar right after the last meeting. And just last week, this is kind of funny, I have an elderly neighbor who can barely walk. And so, of course, someone dumped 2 scooters right in front of his house on the handicapped ramp in front of his home. Now, this is the problem. The people who use the scooters don't want them in front of their houses, so they dump them on in front of someone else's property. I called, they were picked up pretty quickly, but that was because I actually copied our staff person, Ian, on it. And of course, I was furious because one of the companies said, if you want to report a scooter problem, you have to download our app. No, I don't want to download an app. I don't want to give them my credit card information. I don't want to use them because I think they're litter. I just want them to take them away from my elderly neighbor's home. And I shouldn't have to, again, twist myself into a pretzel to get them to do their jobs. And those were 2 episodes. That was one episode. The other episode was, I had gone over to Virginia Drive Live. I was a vendor, first time I've been out due to COVID. And I actually did a little art show. I went to go reload my car and leave the parking lot I was in. Of course, there was a scooter blocking the driveway. Now, I went to pick up the scooter to get it out of the driveway so that I could leave the driveway of the business that I was at. And the scooter's going crazy and it's, telling me to put it down and all this stuff. Now, if the scooter can tell if I've got to move it, okay, why can't they just come get it and get it out of the driveway? I don't understand why the technology only benefits the scooter company and they can't figure out how to pick them up. If they had been more responsive, if they had worked with us, if they had tried to alleviate any of my concerns, I would feel very differently. I think that the bike share program that we originally had with Juice worked great because people had to return them to a rack, and then people could walk the last couple of blocks home. We have plenty of neighborhoods adjacent to business districts where you could leave them in a business like along Mills. In my neighborhood, there's plenty of opportunities for people to leave them and to walk the last few blocks. But to be able to just throw these out all over the neighborhoods and not take into account how this impacts people who are differently abled, I think it's absurd. When I can't even walk my own little dog in my own neighborhood without having these things in the way, I got to say no, and I'm going to continue to vote no today. And I say the scooter companies change my mind because I like the concept of your product. I hate your implementation, and I'm a pedestrian safety advocate, and I shouldn't have to choose between your business model and the safety of my constituents.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Burns?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. You talked about the additional parking locations. Was there a cost to the city for those additional parking locations?
Yes, sir.
And what is that cost?
I can get that exact number for you. I mean, because of the what we've been able to get from the program, we've been able to implement it. And again, it's just putting in a box, like not chocolate paint, like putting in those boxes like you see at the first picture of the presentation. Mm-hmm. And so it's just being able to find areas within the downtown sections to put in.
So when you say a cost, we're talking about a few $100s,
minimal,
a few thousand.
Yes, I don't know, hundreds.
Hundreds. Okay. Mm. All right, and then there was a mention of rebalancing. Can you describe what you mean by rebalancing?
Yes.
Daily rebalancing.
So what that means is that right now the current ordinance has every 72 hours to go and find the scooter and put it back in its parking space or wherever it may be and rebalance it, like start it for a new user to come and ride. So that's just what that means.
So do we think that the rebalancing process will alleviate some of the concern that Commissioner Sheehan just mentioned about them being left in neighborhoods for extended times?
That is our intent and that's our hope. So that's the reason why we tweaked the ordinance to where it'd be on a daily basis.
And so with us tweaking it, what has been the response from the vendors? Have they committed to being able to do the rebalancing? And if they're unable, what's the next step?
Well, that's something that again, it's going to be a learning process with the vendors. I hope with their technology we'll be able to do that. I mean, again, as we move forward in this pilot program, it's going to be, we'll be able to see how accountable they'll be able to do that.
So they hadn't committed to being able to rebalance every day?
I've not heard directly back from the vendors to whether or not they can or not. No, sir.
Because my concern would be if we continue to move forward with this, about this rebalancing, and we're voting forward with the rebalancing in place, and then they come back and say that they can't commit to it, what does that put us at that point? So that would be my concern about it.
Commissioner Stewart.
Thank you. A couple quick questions and a comment. You mentioned that you have 36%, this is just an interesting fact, I don't quite understand it. 36% of the people drive on the street and 32% drive on the sidewalk. No, 32% by the bike lane and 36% on the sidewalk. Where's the other third of the people driving?
Well, it's most are riding on the sidewalk, 36%, or on the bike lane, 32%. That's a good question.
I mean, where else would you drive this that's not on a sidewalk or not in a bike lane? Is the assumption that you're driving a road that doesn't have a bike lane? So, I mean, that's a question that I would like to figure out where they're driving it.
Right.
In an area that's a geo-fenced inside our community. The other concern, I'm going to support the change, your recommended changes to move forward, only because we got 6 months of better data than we currently have, and I understand that. But in response to Commissioner Sheehan, if this is how bad it is in the first 6 months of really operation, then it's got to get better. And the ultimate question is, are we prepared to say no? In other words, are we prepared to turn around at the end of July or end of June and say, okay, that's enough, we're not doing it, period. If we're prepared to make that statement, then let's extend it. But an option always in the future has to be no. So you have the option of no and then yes with these conditions. Those are all the options ahead of us. But I do think we need a better data, that more people are out because COVID has done crazy things to us. And I like the idea of a 24-hour rebalancing. I would like to talk to you about the reporting process that we have. And I'd like to hear back, I think I've shared with you and I've shared with the two groups that contacted me, and they seem to be approval of this, or in approval of it. I'd like to see us look at some options in terms of the data that we're getting back to find out what we think is a tolerant complaint level. I don't know what that complaint level is. I don't know if it's 1 per 1,000, 5 per 1,000, 10 per 1,000 in terms of the riders that we've got. But I got a lot of concern about that. And I'm the minor of the three. I'm the, only 11% of the guys come into District 3, and I understand that. But that 11% is very important to two of my main streets because they're so connected to the downtown core. I'd like to see us do some things where we put the company on in their responsibility to communicate to their customers. You have two, the short and the long of it, you have two issues. I think we discussed this and I want to share it with the council. The one issue is guys are driving outside the district and they're not being picked up. A 24-hour rebalancing helps address that issue, and I understand that. The second issue is the owners or the users are putting them any place they want. And our only choice as a city is go pick them up and put them in the back of a truck and charge $100 if you want them back. And I don't think we ought to have to get to that point to force them to listen to us. Because the other choice is to have them tell their own users that you no longer can subscribe because we've got a complaint about where you parked it. Because they know where the unit is, they know the geofence, and they know who rented it last. And they know it hadn't been moved. So they know that data. They need to apply that somehow. I would like to see us test that over the next 6 months, because I'd like to see that become part of an RFP if it's going to go forward after July 1. Because those are key issues, I think, that we need to address somehow. And if we can address those issues, then you know what? If there's only 2 vendors and you can't go to 5 vendors,
Right.
and both vendors are, you've been kind of blackballed by both vendors, okay? Then I'm sorry, you're off. You can't ride for 60 days or 90 days or something like that until you kind of agree that you're going to start being more responsible as a customer. I think we can test that. But I think the 24 hours helps cover half of that problem. I think we can test the other part of that problem. So I'm willing to extend it 6 months, but I'm not willing to extend it forever. And the warning would be, I don't want to come back in May and say, oh, you know what, we're not going to have a chance to get this done, so let's extend it another 6 months, and then maybe another 6 months. Because the answer is, we're extending it for a particular purpose. And I'd like to make sure that we've got that identified and moving forward so that, like Seattle, we have a strong RFP, and we can move forward and get it solved. So thank you for letting me kind of expound a little bit.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Commissioner Hill?
Thank you, Mayor Dyer. Tanya, thank you for your presentation and your NFJ's diligent work. It's tough for me because I do advocate for pedestrian safety, and this scooter litter is not just a eyesore in our communities, whether it's downtown or Yola Heights or a Paramore, and that concerns me when I'm riding around. But I do realize that this pilot program isn't completed as of yet due to the fact that there was a shutdown and we had to remove them from off the streets for a while. Now we are just reintroducing them. But even during the pandemic and the shutdown, we realized that there is a need for these scooters here in the city of Orlando because the numbers, I'm certain, are accurate and they don't lie. So for me, Mayor and Council, and of course my sister on Council, Commissioner Sheehan, I am concerned of the hardship by not passing this today and not having anything to fill that gap of transportation outside of cars in the public transportation in the downtown corridor, as well as Creative Village, where we have students and residents that primarily don't own cars. And there in the Paramore West Side also, Commissioner Burns, where the majority of our residents in that corridor don't own cars and primarily depend on bicycles. And so what I've seen is that there is a great need by the lack of transportation in that corridor, nor can they afford it. So what will that do if we remove all these scooters from out the system immediately, stating today? What I am happy to see now with tweaking this ordinance a bit is the rebalancing. I agree. Now we can gauge the bad players a little bit more closely if they're not going out daily to rebalance and see where these scooters are laying around or what area they're in. And I did with the geofencing. When they stop, I think that happens where they just toss them down. I would hope in the next 7 months, since this is a pilot program and we can make addendums, that we really don't wait for 7 months out to put some docking stations in place. I think those docking stations are very important and need to be added to this program. I am not in support of 6 or 7 or 8 different companies of this program. So right now, I think it's fair to monitor it, to do a RFP sometime in April, May. We'll have more numbers, And I think it should go out a couple months before we come to July to choose, I guess that'll be up with staff and more data. Who are the 3 companies that are getting it right? I think the reason we have so much litter is just a whole lot of cooks in the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
And there's no way we can monitor all that. So I am in support of the reduction of that. There was something that I noted that isn't in this, that's concerning to me. I think we should add to it. Commissioner Stewart kind of alluded to it. Is that it might be tracking of the scooter itself, but there's no tracking of the users. And who was the last person that used these scooters? To me, Mayor and Council, it's very important that these vendors identify users per use, because we had some incidents downtown where scooters were used, crimes were done. And when we asked the vendors who was the last, we could see them coming in on scooters. But when we asked the vendors, who was in this downtown corridor between 11 and 1 a.m.? They couldn't give us any answers. And I think we need that kind of monitoring so that these scooters can't be used to jump on, go commit crimes, and then ditch them. Because usually we have car tags, right? And if something happened, we can trace them with our irises and see who was there on that block with the tag. But with these scooters, we can't, especially with us being masked up now. Seriously, there's no way to identify some of these things. So I would like to see how we can monitor the users and the times and that data. And even just for safety reasons, I believe, because somebody can easily go and say they fell off a scooter and got injured on the city sidewalk and never was downtown on a scooter. So I know that sounds kind of paranoid. Oh, guess what, guys? Oh, I thought you was giving me back, Commissioner Ortiz, by taking my mask off. Thank you, Commissioner. And so that's where I am. I'm going to support this today. I do think the removal will cause a hardship on some of our citizens, but we do got to get a clamp on this scooter litter, and I think do a RFP sometime 2 or 3 months before the end date of the pilot program and through collecting the data. I don't think not having scooters is the answer if we're moving forward, and we're always leading in the Southeast region. And as we travel throughout the nation, this is the new mode of transportation. And I know as we talk about, I don't know when Mayor knows it better, it's his initiative, but less cars, and more walkability and more geared towards different types of mobile transportation. And this is just one of it as we move into the 21st century. So we just have to figure out how to do it better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. I like them so much, I want to buy one for myself. But I get what Commissioner...
You just made a good point, Commissioner Ortiz, and I went over this with staff, is that these scooters supply that gap and that need of families that can't afford scooters for transportation. And that was one of the things that I really admire and promote this for, because you can't go in certain households and go buy a 400, hell, sometimes they can't even buy a bicycle. So this does create that gap.
In my district, people are buying them because we don't have this commodity yet. So I was gonna ask, when is this getting to my district? But anyhow, I love the numbers that I'm seeing here. And I get what Commissioner Sheehan is saying. Because of that, and it is a true concern, so the beauty of geofencing is that maybe we can do something about that in terms of the residents. If we can identify where her concentration of senior residents that may be exposed to, to this kind of misuse or whatnot of some people, maybe we can work with that and that other governor's program. It may be also. So setting up different parameters, and of course this is something the company can work with. And God bless technology, because all these kinds of things can be worked with. So I don't think there's a need for us to be thinking, well, so far, of getting rid of this. I think we just have to adapt and overcome, as they say in the Marines, and just make sure that our companies are diligent in terms of doing this. And of course, we'll identify a house of somebody who may be a senior or a disabled person. Make sure that we pass this information to these companies for them to, as they monitor these scooters, if they see either nearby or at the house or whatnot, to remove these vehicles immediately, these scooters. I noticed the average utilization of scooters, the use per day. Explain that to me again, because it says like in January 3.8. Is that like 3.8 scooters? I mean, how that? I guess I wasn't paying enough attention to this. Could you run that by me again?
So that snapshot dashboard shows scooters used per day, per month. So in January, there weren't as many vendors, but so it started January 22nd, and everyone was excited to use it. So the vendors at that time, when they had those scooters, people were riding it. So that's why that number is, on average, 3 scooters used per day.
They go down.
And then right, and then COVID, and then also it kind of spread the numbers out, because again, we have 6 now vendors coming into the program, so then that kind of spread out the usage of the numbers as well.
I've been to a few cities around the region, and they have them over there, and it seems like people love them. A lot of people, are using. I've seen. It's just not meant to be funny, but I've seen, seniors riding on them, and I said, this is awesome, And I saw it the other day, as a matter of fact, at Baldwin Park. Yeah, I was on your district. Right there next to the sushi place, in the circle over there was a son teaching his father, who was, elderly, how to ride the scooter. I was not hoping for him to fall, and he didn't, which it was a good thing. So, but I see the enthusiasm on people to get on these scooters, and I've seen a lot of those that are privately owned, which is kind of funny, especially in my district. There's quite a few of those. I've seen people, especially younger people, riding those around the street. But we definitely have to consider Commissioner Sheehan's point, and I think it's very important. So if there's a way that we can work on that with the geofencing, and maybe Commissioner Sheehan, that knows her area better than anybody else, she can probably give us a few pointers.
Okay.
So.
Commissioner Burns?
Yes, I have a question in reference. We've been talking about pilot projects today, and one of the things that was mentioning about the metrics and evaluating these pilots. Do we have any metrics or any data points that have been established that would help us in evaluating if we should continue this program following the pilot? But also, another question is, it's my understanding that following the pilot, we will have a RFP to select a limited number of vendors. And so my question is, can we develop a scorecard for the current participants in the pilot, so when they come up for consideration potentially for the RFP, we will know how they performed in the past? And then my last question is, following the pilot, if the council agrees to move forward with full implementation, will the potential vendors that could respond to the RFP, would they have to have participated in the pilot to be able to respond to the RFP, or could new vendors just come in and respond to the RFP?
So may I address your questions? Okay.
Yeah.
So the first one is, do we have metrics or data in place already? I think what what we presented before you is a starting point. And I think as we move forward, again, we can take the data that we currently have, and it's also, you know, the vendors have their proprietary information, so it's only what we can glean from software that we have and maybe from conversations we have with them that they're willing to share. But it's also, well, we have the metrics, we can refine it and then create more of a dashboard, more of a scorecard, as you mentioned. So to answer your second question, and then on the third, we would entertain, obviously, you know, a different vendor that's not been part of the pilot. However, I don't know, we wouldn't have the data, we wouldn't have the understanding of you know, just how they operate on a daily basis, because now we have from working with these 6 vendors, we have an understanding of who they are, what their mission is, and how they react to some of the concerns or modifications that we've currently made.
Right. Yeah, and I think you mentioned some proprietary information that they may not be willing to share, but I think we have the leverage to get them to share information that will give us more information that we can better evaluate how this pilot is going. So,
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hill.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor Dyer. I just have one more question. For those within the 7 months, 7 months is a long time. For those repeat offenders, after, you know, those that we survey or still have the scooter litter over in Yola Heights in front of neighbors' doorways or walkways, complaints that we're receiving, is there a way, sometimes the only deterrent is fines, right? Is there a way to fine them if they continuously have these scooters not properly stationed, or they're left strewn around in different neighborhoods prior to us reevaluating them?
Okay. So if they just share, so we have the opportunity to revoke the permit,
Okay.
and so therefore they are no longer.
So that might help Commissioner Sheehan out if, you know, she continue to get complaints and keep seeing all these things throughout her neighborhoods, to work with staff, and for those repeat offenders, to bring them in and say, look, this is what we have here, and you're on probation at least, and then the next violation, consistent violation, will be revoking your permit.
Yeah,
So we do have that.
We have that option, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, did we have people that wanted to testify on this?
Thank you all for your feedback.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I
Tanya.
appreciate it. We'll take it all into consideration.
Okay, up first, we have Lisette Garcia representing Lime. She's appearing in person. If you can please state your name and address for the record, you have 5 minutes to speak.
Good early evening, Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Lisette Garcia, address 119 Northwest 52nd Avenue, Miami, Florida. As the representative stated, I am one of the vendors, Lime, and I simply wanted to be here. I literally started a week ago, so I have not contacted any one of you. I just simply wanted to thank you for and applaud the city for having a micromobility program. Lime has been part of it since 2018. And we just simply support the recommendation for an extended pilot to continue to operate micromobility or scooter share in the city. And that's really all I have. I have our general manager, Uriel Bedoya, who is joining us via Zoom, if you have any questions for us. But simply thank you for allowing us to operate in your city, beautiful city, being a native Floridian, and also just hoping what We've heard the recommendations and the concerns, and I will make sure to give it back to our team members so that we can address them appropriately moving forward if this pilot does get extended.
Do you envision having any problem with a 24-hour turnaround in terms of retrieving scooters?
I do not, sir.
Okay, questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Happy holidays to all.
Next, we have Edward Sun representing Spin, appearing in person. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes to speak.
They didn't sign up to speak.
Next, we have Dennis Burgess, appearing in person. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes to speak.
Good afternoon, friends. In a letter to Lime, City of San Francisco Attorney Dennis Herrera wrote that despite previous warnings, your company has continued to operate an unpermitted motorized scooter rental program in the city and county of San Francisco, creating a public nuisance on the city streets and sidewalks and endangering public health and safety. Lime must immediately cease and desist from unlawful conduct. This is a great example of the scooter company's practices both nationwide and abroad, ones which some have dubbed "do now, ask for forgiveness later." That's a poor practice for teenagers looking to skip school and a dangerous motto for businesses like scooter companies. Time and again, scooter companies have proven themselves loath to abide by ordinances where they exist, as one does here, and bent on circumventing government oversight elsewhere, as was the case in San Francisco, where Bird's response to being denied a permit to operate in the town their headquarters calls home was to purchase a competitor whose standards appear to have been higher than theirs and one which did hold such a permit. These companies have shown a wanton disregard for public safety in the city beautiful, whether it be a requirement that users be 18 or older, one requiring them to timely relocate nuisance scooters within 2 hours, or their lack of ability to control the actions of riders who endanger others. They have for nearly 1 full year revealed themselves to be dismissive of the ordinance and its regulations this body set forth. It should come as no surprise given their practices elsewhere, and Orlando need not join a long list of municipalities which now regret having entered into agreements with scooter companies for the damage done to both their citizenry and their reputations. I'm by no means an anti-business zealot, my friends. Opportunities often exist for government and industry to cooperate toward the public good and helping our fellow man. Indeed, as Vice President of our then 15,000 member Orlando Regional Realtor Association, I embrace that mentality, working together with the city on Heroes Commons in District 5, affordable housing and other initiatives and other projects. And in the interest of full disclosure, contributing to a majority of your campaigns. Great partnerships can and do exist, but that's not the case here. I contend it's your charge to act in the interest of our citizenry in its entirety and to send a clear message that Orlando values public safety even when those seeking to do business with the city do not. Though I remain confident in the rightness of my stance against shared scooters and the agenda item germane here, I enjoy no immunity from consequences that stem from that stance. 1 week ago today, amid a pandemic and our Christmas season, my accurate reporting of legitimate safety concerns and properly discarded scooters present led a gentleman whom I've never met to terminate my employment with the City of Orlando. Imagine this. I was directed to a website where I was to report improperly parked scooters. Then I was terminated when those in charge of the scooter program felt I'd reported too many of them, and when their inability to effectively manage the program had been exposed. I love my job and serving my fellow citizens, and did nothing to warrant a termination. And anyone who believed that by terminating my employment they'd silence me was sadly mistaken and must also believe in the tooth fairy. Paraphrasing from William Ernest Hensley's Invictus, my head is bloody, yet it is and shall forever remain unbowed. We meet today on the 79th anniversary of the bombing of Pearl Harbor. That day drew my grandfather into a war which sent him home with 2 Purple Hearts, a Bronze Star, and the Silver Star I carry with me today. He left World War II with enemies in his head from which he never escaped, but with a resolve to do well by others and for others, which seems to have been passed down to me. I stand here, a service-connected disabled veteran with most mobility issues and concerns of my own. And it's for myself and those faring much worse than I that I ask you to vote no today. Any business, governmental, or financial reasons for voting yes are weak and inherently self-serving, while public safety interests and concerns are great, render an affirmative vote reckless and imprudent. May God bless his bodies that continues to do the people's work. May he continue to bless and keep safe the brave men and women of the Orlando Police Department. Thank you.
Commissioner Hill.
I just want to, thank you. I just want to, Mayor, a lot of times these decisions are tough decisions for the greater good, but I publicly want to go on record and tell Dennis, thank him for, his partnership at Heroes Common and a lot of great work he does, and working there with Andy Frayne over at the venues. He's always been a bright face to see and a great smile and inviting. Hopefully I can continue to work with Dennis on this micro mobility piece. It's very important that we get it right. And I know Dennis as a person of integrity, someone that loves the city of Orlando and wants to do good work, mayor and council. And speechless about termination. Don't know anything about that, but it saddens me if that happened, Mayor. But I just want to publicly thank Dennis for all that he does in his advocacy.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Madam Clerk.
Next, we have William Sowers representing Wheels Labs. He's appearing in person. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes to speak.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and City Commissioners. My name is Will Sowers. I operate Wheels, which is located at 5500 West Concord Avenue in Orlando. However, I am a resident of Miami, Florida. So we're a permitted seated e-scooter operator here in Orlando. I'm here today to ask for you to extend the e-scooter share pilot program. Since launching in Orlando in January, Wheels has quickly sought to become an integral part of this community. My full-time operations manager, Sam Hassani, lives downtown in Fern Creek, and my husband and I are relocating from Miami, purchasing a home here in Lake Eola Heights. Hopefully we'll be closing on the home in about a month. So super excited to get here to Orlando. We're drawn to Orlando like so many others. Beautiful, vibrant community with many expanding mobility options. These options that were critical to so many and personal to me as my husband does not drive. Wheels and our competitors have become an important component of Orlando's transportation infrastructure. And according to the survey that you all just saw, 51% of our scooter riders are now driving less. 39% of our riders would have used an e-scooter for commuting, and 27% have used it for shopping. We're now offering people a safe, sustainable option to access essential services in a new way to explore this amazing city. At Wheels, safe, accessible transportation is our core mission. Here in Orlando, we've collaborated with a local Orlando autism advocate to provide a Wheels device to their adult autistic son. The impact was immediate. Their son was able to get around the city in a new, independent way. And these types of things are actually helping us fine-tune our product and make sure that our operation here in the city is better. To our employees, extending this pilot is critical. We employ 20 W-2 staff members, each earning more than $15 per hour. with all receiving company stock options. We have over 15 1099 contractors regularly picking up and rebalancing our devices 24/7 every day of the week, even on Thanksgiving Day a couple weeks ago. We're committed here to being a good corporate citizen. We're committed to being responsive to the city requests. We have voluntarily required ID verification to validate rider age to discourage youth riding. So we're trying to go above and beyond in making sure that we can comply with everything the city has and is requiring of us. Before I conclude, I do want to give a tremendous shout out to the city staff. They deserve thanks and commendation for their communicative collaboration and innovative efforts. They hold us accountable. We're on the phone with them every single day about what's going on, including testing geofence zones for 3 hours on a Thursday night. So, one, thank you for consideration of this matter, and happy holidays. I appreciate it.
Dustin Dory, a representative for Lynx Lane, is also available. Mentioned would speak if there was any questions.
No questions, Madam Clerk.
Okay, next we have Brandon Chung representing Razor. He's appearing virtually. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes to speak.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Mayor and members of the council. My name is Brandon Chung. I work on the government relations team here at Razor. Thank you for the opportunity to briefly address you in support of this item. Since launching our dockless shared scooter service in Orlando just 7 months ago, Razor has proudly served over 13,000 unique riders with nearly 50,000 rides. This amounts to tens of thousands of miles of travel within the city of Orlando through an affordable, sustainable, and non-emitting means of transportation. Along with each of our 5 fellow operators, Razor has remained committed to ensuring that our devices are used safely and responsibly, and to that end, Razor has and will continue to double down on our rider education efforts in our app, through our social media and customer contact channels, and most importantly, through our virtual and in-person community engagement events. Our team has also worked with city staff extensively over the past few months, as my counterpart at Wheels just mentioned, to modify our operations, including the addition or revision of geofence zones, in response to feedback that we have received from OPD and various other government and community stakeholders. I'd just also like to note that in March of 2020, Razor introduced a set of sanitation protocols in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, as I'm sure all of my colleagues at the various other vendors have as well. And we did this to ensure that we continue to serve our employees and our customers safely and responsibly. And in practice, this means that almost our entire fleet is sanitized daily, and these protocols will be in place for the foreseeable future. I'd just like to end by saying that now more than ever, Orlando residents and visitors need a safe and affordable means of getting around, and Razor is proud to have maintained its dockless shared scooter service, which we believe has become an integral part of Orlando's public transit infrastructure throughout the COVID-19 crisis. And we look forward to continuing to serve the Orlando community and to answering any questions or addressing any outstanding concerns you may have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Evan Holloway representing Birds Rides, appearing virtually. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes to speak.
Hello, my name is Evan Holloway and I'm from Bird. Our company address is 6932 South Manhattan Avenue, Unit B, Tampa, Florida, 33616. And on behalf of Bird Scooters, one of the largest and most experienced e-scooter operators in the United States, and an operator in the city of Orlando, Scooter Share Service Pilot, I want to share Bird's support for the agenda item relating to the extension of the pilot program for the Scooter Shared Service. Bird believes that the city of Orlando has developed a program that provides safe, environmentally friendly, convenient, and an affordable form of transportation to the Orlando community. Since the start of the Scooter Share program, over 44,000 Orlando residents and visitors have taken over 400,000 rides and traveled over 430,000 miles on electric vehicles, saving thousands of pounds of CO2 emissions. During the same time, Bird and other operators have hosted a number of safety events in the city, and the Transportation Department has installed a number of scooter parking corrals and racks to help address the parking issues and promote responsible use. BIRD supports extending the expiration date for the pilot program to July 31st, 2021, to provide the City of Orlando with the time to develop a permanent program with fewer operators and higher standards of service without a lapse in service for residents who rely on e-scooters to get around. This extension to the 31st of July would also allow the Transportation Department more time to evaluate the program, especially as the pandemic has continued to affect how residents of Orlando live, work, and travel in the city. BIRD would also support the reduction of speed of seated scooters to 10 miles per hour to be on par with the speed of stand-up scooters. Thank you so much for your commitment to the City of Orlando, and BIRD is eager to continue to serve its residents.
Okay, thank you.
Our last speaker is Joel Martin. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes to speak.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Fantastic. Hi, my name is Joel Martin, and I am a resident of Orlando, Florida. I'm here representing SwiftMile.com, the leading public charging infrastructure for cities. And you've heard from many of our operator friends and partners in the industry, and I would like to extend our support for an extension of the pilot. I truly believe that micromobility can be a force for good. And I know that COVID was a setback for many of the companies that were trying to bring micromobility to Orlando. But we work with many of them across the country. We have deployed over 200 of our charging stations that can kind of address some of the improper parking and infrastructure issues that were brought up at the meeting. And I think some very good points were made. And we are currently talking to the city and working with several of our partners who presented today about helping the city and bringing this the infrastructure that we have at Edwards Air Force Base, Austin, in DC, even in Tampa, that we've deployed with some of the other operators, and bring them to downtown Orlando free of charge to Orlando taxpayers, because we believe we can help, and it can be a force for good. It can create jobs. Micromobility can help deliveries, help the local industries and restaurants that are struggling right now because of COVID. So I hope the city council passes the ordinance, and I'd just like to give our support to all the companies that were speaking and the operators, because I think they can be a force for good. So thank you very much for your time. And again, we will be talking to Ian and to the rest of the team and bringing our support and see how we can best help the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
If you have any questions, I'm here.
Thank you.
That's all, Mayor.
Okay, that's the end of our speakers. We've had a lot of discussion already. Do we need more, or are you guys ready to vote? That's what I thought. Okay, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Okay, that was 6-1 with Commissioner Sheehan, the one.
And Mayor, I hate it. I like the idea of micromobility. I hate the idea of them being street litter and sidewalk litter. They need to figure it out. So if they can figure out how to deliver their product in a safe, efficient manner and get it out of my neighborhoods where it's disturbing people and keeping people from being able to walk, I might vote yes next time, but that's responsibility is on them, and not one of these speakers addressed my concerns today.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, number 2, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance number 2020-67, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, relating to the low-intensity office residential zoning district, amending Figure 1B LDC table of the zoning district regulations inside and outside of the traditional city of the Orlando City Code to amend the setback and minimum lot width requirements for low-intensity office residential uses, providing for severability, codification, correction of scrivener's error, and an effective date.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Stewart, second by Commissioner Ortiz. Any members of the public have a request in?
No, Mayor.
Discussion, hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Number 3.
Ordinance number 2020-69, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the city's growth management plan to change the future land use map designation for certain land generally located south of Brookhaven Drive, east of Ferris Avenue, and north of the Orlando Urban Trail, comprised of 0.49 acres of land, more or less, from industrial to mixed-use corridor medium intensity, changing the property zoning designation from general industrial district with the traditional city and Virginia Drive special plan overlays to medium-intensity mixed-use corridor district with the traditional city and Virginia Drive special plan overlays, providing for amendment of the city's official future land use and zoning maps, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Stewart, second by Commissioner Ortiz. Any members of the public, Madam Clerk?
No, Mayor.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, and so the motion carries. All right, number 4.
Ordinance number 2020-70, an ordinance amending Chapter 56, Part 1, City Code Transportation Impact Fee by adding definitions, by allowing assignment of credits and identifying the rates at which credits may be used, by reducing the transit-oriented development exemption, by expanding the area in which impact fee funds can be expended, providing legislative findings, definitions, penalties, and for severability, codification, correction of scrivener's error, and an effective date.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan,
Second.
second by Commissioner Stewart. Any members of the public, Madam Clerk?
No, Mayor.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. That concludes the official portion of the agenda. Do we have people that want to speak at general appearance?
Yes, Mayor.
Then we're going to take a 4.5 minute comfort break, and we will reconvene at 5:30 for general appearance.